Okay, I'd now like to call the December 15th meeting of the Sherborn Conservation Commission to order at 7:17 with a sort of a roll call vote for the sake of Zoom. So each person announce yourself and say aye. Michael Lesser, aye.
Carol McGarry, aye.
Jacob Strauss, aye.
Courtney Eck, aye.
Steve Scrimshaw, aye.
Kurt Stiegel, aye.
Okay. 6-0, we're all here. Okay. Agenda. Anything we need to add to the agenda underneath under the 48-hour rule?
There is one discussion that we'd like to have. We have the owner of 25 Bear Hill Road and the geothermal wells with us tonight that I would like to have a discussion on. And I'm not sure if to put that under agents reports type issues or under extra.
I don't know. I think we could just do it on the site issues.
So
Come
and
on.
then so that we have two people for discussions, and one is Mr. Adams and the other is Ray for the grooming trails.
Right, that we have here, right. That's already on the agenda.
We'll just
Okay.
to fill it in because they're here, that's all.
Right, yeah, we will, let's do, in terms of issues here. So is everybody here who's gonna do, I haven't looked at what that Bear Hill Road issue is. Whether maybe we should just, is whoever's gonna attend, is they already here for that?
Yes,
Why don't you explain that, let's, just do that one first.
all right, so at 25 Bear Hill Road, the homeowner with a geothermal company drilled wells in the backyard right behind the house. And through the course of permitting, because these don't require specific permits, the building inspector noted that these wells were within jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. The two well points are right behind the house in the existing lawn. There's wetlands approximately 30 feet behind them. I did inspect the area, Courtney, where they had pumped out when they were drilling, and it did not get into the wetlands. It got within maybe 10 feet, and it's an area of silt that they're been directed. I met out there with everybody today. They're going to clean it up and rake it out. They have also filed today a request for determination of applicability to connect these two wells to the house so that they can be utilized for heating the house. And their goal is to be able to do this before the ground freezes. So while they have filed the RDA today, it will be heard on January 3rd. They were hoping that the commission might allow them to connect these wells to the house. It's all through existing lawn, and listen to an after the fact request for determination of applicability. The uniqueness of this project is that it fell outside permitting, so that normally any permit requires review by the Conservation Commission, but because these wells didn't require a Board of Health permit or a building permit, it was never found until they started to do interior connections with the building department, at which point he noted that this had taken place. So they sort of fell outside any what our normal trap is for catching all these things that are close to jurisdiction. So I think that we'll try and work with other departments to make sure that these types of wells are collected in something so that they can be reviewed as far as conservation goes.
Okay,
So that's the long and short of it. I can share a couple of pictures. Unless you have the file open, Michael, and I put photos of the,
yeah, I mean, I have it open if you want to,
just to see, well, there's a very defined edge of lawn, and they're going to install erosion control now.
all right,
Regardless of what the outcome of this meeting is, they're installing erosion control over the lawn to capture everything. The only issue right now is there is a pile of dirt next to the well that will be removed from site. It just hasn't happened yet. Once they dig that out, there really isn't until they dig the trench. All right, so you can see the edge of lawn right around the edge. Right behind that pile, right there are two well heads. The wetlands are, you can see the rhododendron. Yep, there, the wetlands are behind that, running parallel to the backyard. This is right next door to the septic we just did for, was it 49 Bear Hill? This is the lawn across which the piles are over to the right side of the photo. The trench will be dug right up about where that snow line is and connect into the house. Up a little, up, I think up just beyond the chimney. And then the next photo, which is, yeah, that's the little pile, that's the pile of silt right there. Then you can see the Pachysandra. The wetlands are behind the Pachysandra. If you keep going a little bit further out, that's upland area there. Go towards the right side of the picture. I'm sorry, the left side of the picture. Yeah, right there. The
Okay.
wetlands are back on the other side of that Pachysandra.
okay,
So
Joyce,
they're gonna rake out that silt that's right there and get it out. They've already planted some little trees in that area, and basically we'll wrap everything in erosion control. And those are the only pictures.
okay. I can't resist saying at first to the Adams that I tip my hat to you for doing a geothermal system. It's very climate friendly, and we'd like to see more of that in Sherborn and in general, just for reducing fossil fuel use. And it's probably the most climate friendly heating cooling system you could have. So I can't resist saying that as a pitch, people in general, that it's getting more cost effective, and it's a great way to go. But now, dealing with the wetlands issue, Carol, were you going to ask some question?
I was just going to clarify, Joyce, is that silt just some silt that came up in the course of the drilling? I know often it's just a quite narrow hole, and then they thread the geothermal tubes down.
Yes,
This
that
looks
little
very-
area that it came up in the course of drilling the well.
Yeah,
Okay.
this looks very familiar from when we did that similar work in our yard. The sort of, it's granite dust effectively.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Okay. So we have so this is a little bit trickier thing than than I thought it was going to be, but I guess in terms of the work that's done so far, I guess breaking it up into two parts, we have the RDA for the new activity, and we have the existing the past activity.
So the
Did you do
RDA
anything
is
on that
is
other
for
than-
both.
What?
The RDA is for both drilling the wells after the fact and for
Oh,
the
okay.
proposed trench.
So the trickier part here is is this RDA in advance. So because of the fact that they'd like to make the connection that the wells are done, that's the more significant activity. And it's now the connection of the wells into the house, as you said. Guess we have never quite done it this way. But for the sake of a project like this that has, I don't know to what extent the broader environmental benefits are, and just the project and basically we're not talking about, it's just an existing lawn,
Correct.
and then it's fairly short distance we're talking about. Are we just talking about a short distance?
Well, we're talking about going from where the well is, right? Kind of where your arrow is on the other side of the pile. Past the tree,
Mhm.
go to the next picture. You see the tanks right there, and then
Yeah.
up, then just connecting up above.
Okay. And that's, what depth of those, how much digging is going to be going on? What depth is that?
Is that, Eli, did you say it was 4 feet?
Should be.
Something like a frost, yeah.
Yeah, it should have to be below the frost line.
So it's either 4 to 5 feet.
Yeah. Okay. What do folks think? On the commission?
I'm not sure about the process or the timing, but it seems like the best thing for the wetland is to get that area stabilized as soon as possible. And it can't be completed until the house connection's made.
Well, I mean, part of it is the cleanup technically should be part of an enforcement order. According to what we've heard from the DEP circuit rider, just I don't know that putting it under an RDA makes it enforceable enough per se. I'm
Well, if
not
they-
saying that's what we should do in this case, but
So if they didn't do the work, and we discussed that on site, if they didn't do the work, they would get an enforcement order.
I see. I guess so what Alicia has told us in the past is that you can't issue an enforcement order for a permit to do work.
Correct, and that's why they filed an RDA.
Okay.
Right, So we're not doing an enforcement order to then permit putting a trench in. We would do
Right.
an enforcement order if this cleanup merited it. But they filed an RDA, a permit to do the work
Yeah,
and the cleanup at the same time.
right.
So by the time they're finished, the silt will be cleaned up as
Yeah.
will the pile of dirt.
Yeah. So the other thing, the thing that makes me uncomfortable is giving the go-ahead to do work without, a formal process when
Understood.
something isn't an emergency. That gives me pause. And I just want to make sure that this is not some kind of special treatment that we're giving because it's a geothermal project and we're all in favor of that.
Well,
I don't know what did others think.
I mean, I think looking at this, doing it under an RDA, I feel like there's enough disturbance within jurisdiction that I have some concerns about that.
I guess given it's already altered and the magnitude of the disturbance is relatively slight, that I would feel okay with the RDA and I guess to Eli there or whatever it is. We're just trying to find how to do this correctly from a permitting point of view. And be fair to the process, even though it's somewhat of a straightforward project. I guess I would approve, right, I would feel comfortable giving the magnitude of the work and the fact that it's already altered, that I would feel comfortable doing it as an RDA. Right, I struggle with the things in advance. And, right, things like this would have happened on their own, and forgiveness would have been asked later in other circumstances.
Michael, didn't I just in a recent meeting put the qualifications for whether something can be done under RDA? And there was something like if there were more than 2 conditions, it had to be done in an NOI.
They recommended that if it was a recommendation that it was 3, more than 3 was the statement there as a suggestion. It wasn't a requirement, but it was a suggestion. In this case, there would be hardly any conditioning.
Yeah,
It's
even with
fairly
the
simple.
cleanup, right? It would be
Yeah.
pretty straightforward.
I
Right,
think
I
that's the
mean,
question. We should look at it that way. And what are the 3 conditions then?
I'm not even sure we need any. Do you think we need any erosion control for this?
Yes, they would
Okay.
install erosion control now,
Okay, so there's
regardless of
erosion
what the
control.
outcome of the meeting is.
So it's erosion control essentially, and
Removal of silt.
removal of silt, and I guess the standard sort of no storage of equipment and things like that in the buffer zone.
Joyce, you mentioned the tree plantings, that would be in the application, that wouldn't necessarily need to be a
Those are
condition.
things they've already done, like they just did during now. I just noted it while we were out there.
Okay.
Are they native trees?
They are native trees.
Beautiful.
Thank goodness.
Because like that they wouldn't need a permit for, correct?
Correct.
So,
Okay,
I mean,
Yeah.
I tend to agree with Michael that it's going to be a very limited area of disturbance in an already altered area, a lawn, and it's a temporary disturbance, just like the installation of the well. Which, you know, that's kind of what makes me think this is an RDA, and it's fairly straightforward, standard conditions of, you know, preventing erosion, keeping your equipment in the right place and stabilizing things. And the only special condition would be cleaning up the silt.
right.
Right? Am I missing anything?
Yeah, no, it seems fine to me. I don't know whether others on the, so the RDA route, I mean.
I agree with that.
Okay, we probably have most people agreeing that that could work. I don't know whether Carol, you've been swayed or not.
Well, I have been swayed because, you know, it sounds like there'll be basically 3 conditions. I mean, this is not going to be complicated.
Then the big thorny one is the idea of this, that it just came in today, and whether we're giving advance allowance because it's winter time and it's freezing, and it did fall, and this project fell into a strange sort of gap in terms of the permitting process, so that it was proceeded without, so that I guess I would give some leeway for the fact that this particular kind of project doesn't follow some of the normal permitting stuff. So therefore, they've proceeded without doing the RDA a while ago, which they usually would have done if they knew, I imagine. And so given that sort of permitting sort of quirk, then I would probably consider doing something in advance, given what we see here, and that we get these conditions done, and that we would hear it as sort of an after the fact RDA at our next meeting. So I'm leaning that way myself, given the sort of special circumstances of this project, mainly because of the permitting issue, separate from all of its environmental benefits. I don't know what others think about that.
Just from a common sense point of view, it seems straightforward. I don't know if this, what precedents or breaking, setting, or rule following and all that, and just that would be my only concern, is if this is somehow sets a path for other things to follow, other projects.
Yeah, we've been told that those things, we don't have to worry too much about that kind of precedent setting, but yes, I think this one's special enough given the permitting issues.
Well, have we done something like this before?
Not that I can recall.
Okay. And the other thing is, you know, the drilling took place a while ago. I mean, that like a couple months ago, right?
Yeah, what
1
difference? does
month
it
ago,
make?
A
Yeah.
month ago?
a month ago.
Okay. All right.
Are people comfortable with the approval, we're gonna be seeing an RDA after the fact. I don't know whether we actually,
Is there something we would have to vote on, or is
you
that?
know,
is
that's
that-
what I'm trying to figure out, what would be the
say
way,
that we just sort of agree that, yes, we're gonna review this as an after the fact thing in January.
right? I guess that's maybe where we would be.
I just, Courtney, you had some comments about that earlier. Do you feel comfortable with that? Because I know that you had been talking with the state about it. About the process in the past that we used.
Oh, I don't have a problem with the RDA. I'm just uncomfortable telling somebody to go ahead with a project without going through the process.
Yeah, I am too. Question is whether this is,
That's where I am right now.
well, the question is with the permitting stuff there, I mean, right, it's another couple of weeks. Who knows what the weather's gonna be like in terms of, I don't know, what's the burden of waiting a couple of weeks in terms of, is there really a serious concern about ground, or it's just holding up the contract and other parts of the project that's already, I guess it's a project that's already underway.
It's not entirely clear to me, Courtney and Michael, what you're referring to in terms of, are you suggesting that we do an enforcement order and have that?
No, it's an
released, or
RDA.
are you
It's a-
Suggesting,
No, it's not, an enforcement order issue is off the table.
okay, so
That's not an
instead
issue.
you're saying what?
The question is whether we're acknowledging that they're gonna start with this sort of relatively minor activity of connecting the wells to the house with the sort of digging down 4 inches to run up the pipes there, and whether we're
4 feet.
comfortable with doing that, comfortable enough. None of us are comfortable with doing it this way, probably. It's
So
just a
then they
matter
can
of,
wait until January 3rd, but can I say to the building inspector that his internal permits are being held up, the duct work and things like that? Could I say to the building inspector that, you know, this is going to be going forward on January 3rd, and that his
Yeah.
internal work can proceed?
I would be fine with that.
yeah, January 5th, yeah, right.
Right. I mean, we'll just tell Chris that, yeah, this is going to be on that meeting, and
Okay.
it's pretty straightforward.
You
Mr.
think
and
that's
Mrs. Adams,
sufficient?
does that work for you?
Yes, that works.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, then this will be on for January 3rd as an RDA.
Okay. So we've sorted it out then.
I hope you guys like your geothermal. I have geothermal too.
Thank you. We really appreciate your help walking us through this.
Yeah. I'm sorry it all came at, you slipped through the regulatory cracks there, and how were you to know that this was a thing? So.
Right. Yes, hopefully we have lots of these issues coming up now, so that we'll get it set, because then that lots of people are doing geothermal, since there's certainly many more doing it.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Okay. Agenda wise. We're gonna have to put off, we have the hearing. Coming up in 4 minutes.
So you have, we have to continue.
Oh,
Little
yes.
Hudson Lane. Karen's
Oh, I
gonna
forgot to
confirm
open
it's
and
on
close
there.
that, open and continue that one.
Yes, so Karen is on the meeting here.
Actually, do we even open it? That's the question we've had
So
before.
Joyce, if I could just say one thing, I'm sorry to
Sure.
interrupt. So your regulations in section 7.8.1 state that we could notify via hand delivery. We did notify the applicants via certificate of mailing, but the owners got signatures, went to all the abutters, got signatures, and I believe they're on the call. And they're willing to show you that if that's acceptable by the commission.
Hello.
So this is Connor, one of the.
So this is a change in,
Oh, we.
Yeah. We went and knocked on some doors.
and so you have
Imagine
something.
that, seeing people in person these days.
So Connor, do you have
Okay,
the
fine.
ability to show that form that you sent to me to the commission? Can you
Yeah.
share?
I can't share until Michael stops sharing his screen.
Okay, this is going to be so a wrinkle in our schedule here. Okay, so I wasn't paying attention.
Could you also email it to us? Could you do that simultaneously? Thanks.
Sure.
You can put it on the screen for one thing at a time, you know?
And we also were issued a number from DEP this morning. I don't know if Joyce, you saw that. It's
I did not
48
know. No.
438. I got it. What's your 283? Is that your first three numbers? The last four numbers are 0483, 438, 483. I'm sorry.
So do we know if this covers everybody?
So we did also notify via certificate of mailing also.
So there are four, I see four.
Yeah, this is for there were 5 abutters. My wife was able to talk to the 5th who declined to sign. So it's 4 to the 5.
So under the regulations, we need to get 75%.
Okay, so is this all right to accept this? This is something new, so we just, as usual, we have to,
Yeah.
it's always some little quirky thing here that we have to sort out.
This is definitely new.
So this is in the this is in the act too. This is accepted by DEP.
Yeah, no. Well, DEP is, unfortunately, ours is a little bit more stringent.
Right.
That's
And
why I just want to make sure that it fits with us so that we could proceed, since I'll have to tell.
So I'm just looking at the regs, Karen, and I'm slow, but so it said the applicant should send notices by certified return receipt requested mail.
or hand delivery.
It doesn't say by or hand delivery.
I'm looking at 7.8.1 public notices.
Yeah, other applicants other than the property owners.
So it says or hand delivery written acknowledgement or receipt to all abutters within 100 feet of the property.
Okay, I'm still looking. I'm sorry. I'm there. I'm at 7.8.1.
I'm
Oh,
seeing,
okay, wait a minute,
I'm actually
okay.
seeing it there.
Yep,
It's there,
I'm-
Joyce.
I see it now. I see it now. Yep. Okay.
So I guess this works.
According to our regs, it does.
Is there
Okay.
any problem that one of them didn't sign in our regs?
I don't see, again, but I didn't catch this part. I don't see the 75% part, but I didn't see the other part either, so.
Do you see it, Carol? I haven't spent the time to pull up the.
So it does say all, but they did go to that person. They spoke with the person, they declined. So I don't know if that's hand delivery.
Oh, they
It
declined.
does say all, that all abutters should have, all abutters within 100 feet.
We did, my wife did speak to everyone today.
I guess you can attest to that. You'll have to write it down. I guess I would accept that if it was
Okay,
formally written down that you spoke to
do-
them.
Do an affidavit.
I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, I mean. I guess I would accept this. That means we can open hearing. I'm gonna have to,
Can we just, Joyce or someone, are we just double checking that these are all the abutters on our official list?
yeah, give me a sec.
I have to look at the end. You could email this to us, but also you can stop sharing your screen.
The other abutter that was on the list was the owner of the actual property this is on. You know,
Okay, I'm gonna just have to make a statement to John Dennehy and DeShang and others for that project. You, due to some changes in the agenda thing here, we're gonna get to your project because we want to get through that. And that since that'll take a little bit more time, there's gonna be a little delay while we just settle this issue here, which won't take very long. So that appreciate if you could just hang on for a little bit while we sort out this thing here. And so your hearing will open a little bit late.
So,
the-
So I can't compare signatures. I'll say we'll just have to look at it after the fact. Usually we get these submitted to us in advance, so we have time to look things over. And I appreciate the work that you all went through to resolve the issue. The issue was, it's simply that they did certified mail instead of return receipt, which, each town differs and that's, so they've corrected that. I'll have to go through it and make sure that I can follow through with which signature is whose. But this is, they filed an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for 0 Hunting Lane. Michael, can you share that plan?
Hold on, before we get there,
Yep,
I just want to make sure that we are, that we're essentially, we're, Marty, could you mute yourself if you're, Marty, mute yourself, or do we know how to mute him? I can mute him.
Done.
Okay.
power.
Yeah, right, exactly. I haven't exercised that yet. I missed an opportunity here. Okay, so I just want to make sure we open the hearing.
Oh, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
I know this won't take very long, but I do want to open the hearing, and I realize that
Okay,
let
open.
me go, hold on one second. I'm just going back to the is the document for, I guess, the public, it's not in the folder. The opening comment. Okay. Okay, in the future, we just have to make sure that the hearing has its publication
Right,
text in there, which I'm not seeing here. So I will have to ad lib it. I would like to now formally open the public hearing for an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for DEP number 283, and whatever the number that's been, that we now know there's a number on file, for 0 Hunting Lane, Lot B, Assessor's Map 6, Lot 34, for proposed review of a resource area delineation. All of the materials are available at Town Hall. This is being heard under the State Wetlands Protection Act and the local Sherborn bylaw. And all people can make comments here at this hearing. And hopefully I've paraphrased enough of what we normally have to open with. And we now have the appropriate notification has been submitted. It'll be reviewed before a final order will be sent out. And if there's any problems with that, we might have to redo this. But hopefully you got it straight in that you'd like us to get through this now rather than, and hopefully presuming that you got all the notifications correct. Okay, now the hearing is opened. Joyce, I will now, let's see, for the plan here is, I can, sorry, my computer's acting for some reason on this file. Why isn't it opening it? Is this the Board of Health plot plan that you'd like to see?
yes, it says full Board of Health plan.
Yes, for some reason it keeps opening it and then closing it. I don't know if there's something strange about this file.
If you,
I had that problem too.
Yeah, interesting that it's not doing it. Let me see if I just download it and then show it.
It works if you download it.
Oh, yeah. Unless it's just taking its time. Why don't you start talking and we'll see if it shows up. I've tried downloading it and it's not.
So
It did
I,
load for me after downloading it. Just took
What?
a while. It did
Okay.
load for me after downloading. It just took a while.
Okay, well, you can share your screen if you have a big enough screen to do it, or whether. I'm still waiting.
Is that okay?
that's,
I don't normally share.
no,
so
that's fine, that's fine.
I
No,
can
yeah,
zoom
so-
in.
So, Karen, I don't know if you wanted to present, but Karen Flag delineated the wetlands along this bordering vegetated wetland. And, I walked the flags and checked the soils, both and vegetation, upland and, on the wetland side, and I was in agreement with all the flags that she set out. There was none that I moved, so, everything looked, very well done. And that's it. So the next step would be to prepare an ORAD. But because I didn't think that this was going forward, I have not done that.
And there's no other wetlands on the site besides.
There were no other wetlands on the site. The site rises up to a high point. Karen, is there anything you wanted to add?
No, basically that's it. It's at the toe of the slope. The topo goes up quite significantly from the line. So it's a pretty straightforward line.
Does anybody have any questions about this before we move on this? Accepting Joyce's field work. Okay, first I will move to close the hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Michael, I. Carol,
Sorry,
Kurt,
Aye.
Matt,
I'm going to abstain just because I missed the first 20 minutes of it, but everything sounds reasonable.
okay. Steve?
Aye.
Jacob?
Aye.
Courtney?
You got me already,
I
right?
did? I
Yeah.
don't know. And
I said
Michael,
aye, so.
okay, and Michael, I, okay, so the hearing is closed. I move that we approve the delineation as in the plan specified. Do we need to do anything more in terms of an ANRAD?
An ORAD? No.
Or, okay. Okay, so I move that we approve the delineation of bordering vegetated wetlands as on the plan specified there from the Board of Health. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, Michael, I, Courtney,
Aye.
Kurt,
Aye.
Steve. Aye. Jacob,
Aye.
Carol,
Aye.
Matt.
Abstaining.
Okay, 601. Fine, the wetland line has been delineated. Go forth and develop or come up with plans.
Great, thank you very much. Joyce, I'll send you an affidavit signed by the applicant to say that he,
And that list, yeah.
yes,
that's
I will.
good.
Okay,
Good
thank you.
save. Good save.
Sure, we'll talk soon. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Okay,
can I ask a quick choice? What is whenever we see something that's 0 something, it's hard to know where it is. Do you know what the next closest property number is, street number is?
There was actually a street number for that. It was 6. Hold on a minute. I did. I looked it up when I went out to find it.
Oh,
I can get that for you, Carol.
yeah, that'd be great. Just
In my notes.
at least before they come before us again, I think that can be super helpful.
I believe it's 58,
Oh, thank you.
58 or
Okay.
59.
yeah, it's something on the plan there. Okay, sorry for the delay.
Thank you.
I guess for Kelly or whatever, the budget stuff's gonna have to wait a while if he's still here. There he is. We're gonna deal with the budget stuff after we deal with this hearing.
Michael, is it just a vote on the budget stuff?
Just a vote. I don't think we have anything substantively
You can
different.
go to bed, Kelly.
Okay.
I'll be jealous.
Okay, there we go. We've taken care of the most important issue here. Okay, I'm reopening the hearing on 3 Prospect Street. And we are, sorry for the delay. I appreciate your patience. And okay, question is, I don't know whether I haven't looked in this folder lately to see whether we have a draft of a
Yes,
order of conditions to walk through.
yes, we do. I just had a couple of plan notes before we go into the couple of minor plan notes. If, just saying, can you share your plan?
Yes. Okay, let's zoom in first. This is the second page. Yeah, which page you want? This is the first
The
page.
front page is, the front page is good. So again, these are just a couple of very minor plan notes that, if Shane could make and submit, it doesn't hold anything up. I just for clarification. The first note I wanted to make is that on the wetland bounds, you have 5 wetland bounds on the east side. If the lowest one, yes, right there, could be moved to the angle point where the
Okay.
fence is.
Okay.
That would give us a line
Straight.
across. And then the notes, the first one, you have a construction sequence and erosion control. Somewhere in there should be the timing of the replication restoration area. So we're into a season right now where you probably wouldn't want to do this replication mitigation work, but the timing should be such that there's no filling of any wetland until such time as you can, at the same time, do the replication and mitigation.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, if that, I think it's also can be put in the order of conditions. Yeah,
Well,
I agree.
We can do that, but you've got to, and that's fine. I do have that actually. Like you can't, so we have to. I don't have it worded quite like that, but basically what I said is you can't do any work until the replication is done.
Right.
But I don't know if you're planning to, once you get all your permitting, to start construction right away, that would hold up. So we have to find a trigger. So I guess the idea would be no touching of the isolated wetland until everything can be done at once.
Sure. Yeah, it should be able to manage it, do it because the houses are quite distanced from that. We don't need to fill that right away. So we can comply with that. No problem.
So that might mean that you have an extra erosion control barrier up around that front area there until such time as
Yes,
you're ready.
sure. Yeah, if we are going to do the work right away, that's not a problem. So you
Okay.
mean over here, we want to just temporarily protect that.
All right, and then down in the wetland replication notes. You have one area where you have the Conservation Commission under number 8.
Yeah.
I think there should be 3 inspections. One when you stake everything out before you do any excavation. When
Yeah,
'cause you talk about-
pre-construction meeting, you mean pre-construction meeting?
Well, stake where you stake out where the replication area is gonna go, that
Okay.
we can see it before, I can inspect it before you do any excavation.
That's in step 4. Basically, we talked last time that step 4 would also include conservation agent. review.
Right, but should be probably, so you stick, number one is stick out the replication area.
Oh,
It should be somewhere out in there before you pull out any plant, before you do any of the, maybe after step one, once you stake it out, let's have a meeting. You can stake it out before the pre-construction meeting, and that, we can do that all at once.
Yeah, I was thinking probably pre-construction meeting, we should have
Okay,
things all
so the
staked out.
pre-construction meeting will include staking out the proposed replication area.
Yes,
All right, and then then you have it down in 8, and then there should be a third one after everything is planted. A call to the commission to do an inspection after everything is planted.
yeah, sure. Yeah, that's that's either that will have to be like an as-built, the time almost before we do the as-built plans, or just to confirm things are.
Just like right after you plant everything, a call.
Okay, either I can, I will, either I put in a pre-construction meeting should have the wetland replication area stake out, or I can add into like the 4-3 area as one, and then we already have this one, so we can, so planting the shrubs. Yeah, let's see.
It can be a add in between 11 and 12 that after
Right.
after planting is completed, schedule an inspection.
Yeah, okay, post-planting, that's fine.
So that was all the plant. I already talked to Desheng after he submitted this a week ago about a couple of other things. So he's taking care of my concern.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I appreciated that. Yeah, I already had one kind of a phone this version. Joyce had pointed out some grading things. We have take care of that. So this I will add in moving that bond. So just want to make sure I get it. So I kind of mark on my plan, move this one to here, and then we can say this is in case we're going to add in like a temporary erosion control line here, just in case if we are going to do the work in the winter time before the replication can be done. And then it's the replication procedure, the 3 inspections by the agent.
I
catch.
think that just the erosion control was just a jump in on that temporary erosion. We had talked last time about having that interim erosion control around the wetland that I think is going to be more than just that. Do we need it more than just that little bump out there, whether it should extend? Do we need to have it extend more to the left and the right to the extent that they're doing, who knows what construction work they're doing there, that it should go along sort of where that fence line is to the left and right? What do you think of that in terms of?
I mean, I don't know how soon the fence is going to go up, but where is the erosion? You have an erosion control, that's the orange line.
Right.
Michael, you're right. He talked about putting erosion control between the wetland and the replication areas, the existing isolated wetland.
Oh, no, I thought we had talked about it protecting more along that whole fence line there.
There is
while the
nothing,
work is going
there's
on.
nothing that stops people from, everything flows down towards the house. But
Right.
there isn't any, either an orange construction fence or an erosion control barrier right where Michael's talking about, just saying, would be helpful to keep everybody out of that area.
We don't want it more compacted and other kind of things there, even though we're doing stuff there that.
It's a probably just as Joyce just said, it's really the land is pitching this way. It's not really going to the wetlands. If
Well, then
we
you could
need
put
it,
up an orange fence. We want something there. You could put
maybe
up
just silt fence, because silt
Sure.
fence is a solid and it's also demarcation and have a function. It's not going
Fine.
to impact the wetlands. It's
Okay.
just more or less is more like a construction
Just
demarcation.
put some sort of something there that will be in place along the fence and that bump out.
Yeah,
And it could be a silt fence there.
yeah, we can
get that.
just seal fence, follow the proposed stop
Right,
fence later on,
fine, just put that on the plan.
Okay, yeah, we can just
Okay?
call
to
that
move
out.
this- Just to move this along.
Right, yeah,
Okay.
we will add in that, so to just follow this line, so that we, temporary silt fence prior.
Okay. So let's see. Um,
Uh,
do you want to walk through if we put up
Yep.
the order of conditions? Is that going to be the best way to go through this thing here?
yes,
And we could skip around there. I could put it up or you could put it up.
if
I
you would
can
like,
stop
I'm
sharing.
having trouble opening things. I'm not sure why.
Okay,
so
then okay,
I
then
just
I'll
found out
open it up.
why.
Let me stop my,
Please do. I probably have the power to stop you, but I haven't exercised that. I'll leave that. to-
no, you're free to exercise. We are getting in front of me, whatever, our goal is the same.
Yes, I'll share screen, hold on.
Michael, you had saved a second one in there. Had you made some changes already?
No, that was just in preparation.
Okay, okay.
For doing this, I'm sharing, hopefully you're seeing side-by-side files here.
Yes,
Okay, I tried to do both just in case we want to go back and forth to the plan. To get through this thing here. Our goal is to see whether we have everything in place here. And that tonight we could close the hearing. We still, and we can vote on the project. This would be our working draft of the order of conditions, just as a procedural issue. And that normally we have to close the hearing, we still then finalize and work on the order of conditions. But most things have been described here. This is, I guess, as you see here, the basic description. And
so this is a unique site. And so what I tried to do in A is to kind of describe what was driving our ability to allow them to fill wetland for this unique isolated wetland.
yeah, there's some stuff will clean up the grammar and stuff like that here.
Yes.
Whoops. I thought I was allowing myself to edit the document, but it's not letting me do it. I thought I went through this process. Okay, there we go. I guess I am going to do this so we could see things. Okay, this we can come back to make sure we get a summary of all the mitigation and what's going on after we get through the conditioning of this thing here. I think the numbers are, this number is, oh yeah, 177 square feet. I thought I didn't see the period. Okay, I would suggest we can come back to this, but that the issues are, these are just our kind of findings with what this thing is relevant to. General conditions. The administrative conditions are the standard. This is all fairly standard boilerplate for any permit. Any order of conditions in terms of recording and other approvals by other entities. I'm going to move down here. We will send this out to the applicant along the way. Erosion control. This is, oops, sorry. This is fairly, this is again is boilerplate. We will have to plan revised. We will have to put in here a new date.
Yeah, we will date the ones incorporating the changes.
Don't have to worry about
today's date.
that now. Let's okay, we can deal with that separately. Just to get through this process, I'm gonna cut some things off here. There's issue around erosion control of making sure that there's inspections after big rain events. This is 0.16, which is standard. Pre-construction, let's see. This is signage, construction. Okay. Standard stuff about equipment and where the equipment can be stored and outside of, to the extent possible, the 100-foot buffer, I guess has to be outside of the 100-foot buffer zone or on the existing driveway. There is, at this point, you haven't requested any issues with dewatering. If that comes up, you'll have to come back to us just to specify how you're doing that and where it's going to go. But I think at this point, doesn't seem to be an issue, or whether whatever dewatering you're doing will be outside our jurisdiction. The soils, the A levels, this is fairly standard stuff. The 2 years here. Where did I see this thing here? The site will be monitored for 2 years for certificate of compliance. Are we getting it correct in terms of the 2 years? Because this is a replication.
Yes.
Somewhat different. Do you think this is going to be sufficient?
2
Or,
years is well, 2 years is standard.
yeah, this is 2 years. Normally it's 2 growing seasons.
Well, right. So I'm
Um,
gonna change that to 2 growing season, and I have a definition for growing season.
Okay, fine. So just to make sure everything works. Just making some note here. Site grading. With waterfall, this is again, nothing special here. If there's any fill, did you take this condition from our regs? Is this
Yes.
copy? Okay,
Yeah.
fine. Just notice what the standards are here. This is by regulation in our bylaw. In terms of what is needed if fill's going to be brought on site, and that these will be notified. Let's see. We're supposed to get the test results. Requires fill. I thought in our regs, we have something about being notified of the test results.
It's at
Before.
the,
That we're supposed to get the results before, that's something before, I believe.
all right, I'll just confirm that it's the same.
You have to be careful about what kind of materials brought on site. Don't want to make anything worse. There have been some bad experience, so this is part of the bylaw regulations for all projects. Let's see.
I've added the next 2 conditions, those are new.
There's. Okay,
And 39, that can be taken out.
okay.
"38" had a typo in it. There was an "it" that should be in
Well,
that are not chipped to use as
the plans are not chipped.
Oh,
I think 2.
2, it should be 2.
Okay. The spell check will be run on this thing before.
Yeah.
That will catch all this kind of stuff here.
I won't catch that
Okay.
one.
Oh, well, they catch, it's a grammar check, so they catch that kind of stuff. But you're right, that easily could have. Okay, this is the more. Okay, so there are growing seasons. So the question is whether you just refer,
Yeah, I'll make the match.
yeah, or whether you even just need it in one place, but, okay. This is new stuff for us. So for everybody, this is new for us since it's taken a while for this to get developed. So, and
I'm gonna change 41 to say, wetland replication, not, instead of saying prior to pouring any concrete, I'm gonna reference that no wetlands can be filled until the replication can be constructed at the same time.
okay. So we're not sequencing this with the house thing. It just has to get done. We're not, okay,
Yeah, we need to transplant some from the field area to the replication, so it needs to be done about simultaneously at that moment.
okay. I guess we can have that, I guess we're having it reviewed that I guess the process. So we can add something about how the process will be coordinated with the commission, with the agent.
The definition of commission in this order is the commission, its agents, or anyone you assign.
So there'll be some language here about that. So that.
Yeah, we can discuss
so that
probably
we
at
can
the
work that
meeting.
out. We just work it out when you actually start, that this process will be set up and finalized on the actual timing of when you start activities.
Right, at the pre-construction meeting, so we should be able to go over more logistics
Right.
of that.
Finalized during pre-construction.
Yeah, meeting with the agent.
Okay, we'll get that cleaned up here. Here's the 2 growing seasons. This is again. So, so even in the replication area. For others on the commission, this is sort of new to us doing it this way, but this is also a peculiar project. 75%. We're okay with the shrub density and is the shrub density in the order here, or is it just on the plan? The numbers, the plantings and things.
I did not put the shrub density in here yet. I can add the number of shrubs.
Well,
Yeah, it's listed in the table on the plan. You can make reference to it if you
Right.
agree, unless you want to add a different. Otherwise, I think
we
it's
often put in the summary of the plantings, just to have it in the order as well. Is we okay with the 75% in this case of a replication area?
So we talked about, in the last meeting, Carol, we talked about 100% survival. So that's something I wanted to discuss here. How do you feel because there's only,
I think it depends on the density choice. I think we were thinking that it could be maybe planted a little bit more densely with an assumption that there'd be 75%. I can't remember exactly what we discussed last time.
Yeah, we had 6 by 6 issues, or whether that was.
so he added more shrubs. And then now there's also shrubs in the replication area and in the buffer zone.
Yeah, I'm mostly concerned about the replication area. The 75% is our norm for buffer zone stuff.
So,
It's
yeah.
more that since we haven't done replication and what density it is there.
So the under the Wetlands Protection Act, it's 75% coverage. Not 70% survivability. That's an old requirement.
Oh, that's interesting. Hmm.
But this is not under the act, so.
I thought we were discussing last time, though, that wetland area itself was not currently covered with shrubs. So I think the reason it looks the way it does now on the plan is that the idea was that there would be more shrubs right around the
Well,
actual.
we're just doing the replication areas. That's all I'm concerned about. This is the replication area here. This is the buffer.
We
Okay.
did put many more in the buffer zone that originally were just left be natural, and then
Okay.
No, it's nice that this is much more vegetated buffer zone now with these additions. I'm just concerned about whether we're okay with since we've never really looked at a survival rate for an actual replication. That's why I'm bringing this up. Because here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see, what's the replication here is 244, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 plants.
Michael, are those herbaceous plants? I can't remember.
No, those are, well, there are herbaceous plants in there.
I thought there were.
These are just the shrub, this is just a shrub level.
Yeah. The herbaceous will be seed mix, New England seed
Right.
mix or using
Yeah, but you showed Joe Pyeweed in there and you said the JP.
goldenrod. Yeah, I think Carol was, you remember Carol, you like the goldenrod and the Joe
Joe-
Pyeweed.
Yeah, I do.
It's more like pollinating, function. It's a good I think it's a good suit. Just from what I observed on site right now, it's probably very suitable for this site. It's already very successfully.
But just at the
adopted.
shrub level, I'm gonna interrupt, just at the shrub level. For example, in this area, there are about 7 shrubs. That's comparable to a 6x6. That's, if you use 6x6, 36 square foot of shrub. That's equal to, for the 44, that's basically equivalent of a 6x6 spacing, which we've used. The only question is whether we want a higher survival rate than 75%. And in the places there, do people have any opinions one way or the other with that? I mean, if the herbaceous layer works, I'm less concerned too. And,
Right. So the goal would be at the end of 2 growing season, everything is stabilized within the replication area. That there's no exposed soils, that the herbaceous layer is taken hold, because in addition to the herbaceous planting, just saying you're also seeding it with a wetland seed mix, right?
Right.
Or a conservation seed mix.
Is that what's appropriate in a replication?
No, wetland mix, wet mix, New England wet mix in the replication area, and in the buffer zone, it will be New England conservation seed mix, which is relatively moisture condition. And
Now, is that's called out on the plan, is it?
yeah, it's on the, if you go to the plan on the planting schedule. Right, so New England conservation seed mix, and the herbaceous one is we are transplanting. If the transplanting, you go more to the right, should be to the right, yeah. The buffer zone replication, transplanting, and then if it's a not, then we will have a seed mix, 1 pound of New England wet mix.
So that's missing from this.
Yeah, that table probably get cut off. It says 1 pound, but it seems like should be 1 pound of New England wet mix.
So fix the plan there so that.
I will check on that.
Okay.
I think we'll probably when this is
Right.
the table was coming from Excel file, maybe when doing the drafting, copy and cut it off. Yeah, well, I'll make sure that things show.
Michael, I have a thought about this 75% thing. Since we're doing kind of like the goal is really to get cover, right? We want the herbaceous cover combined with the shrub cover. And since they were doing a seed mix, I think Joyce had suggested something about percent of cover. I think that's a little bit going to be easier to measure and probably more appropriate. That it's like, for instance, there's a whole bunch of plugs there. It'll be really hard to say whether those have survived. Same thing with seeds. So I'm thinking maybe.
Okay, so but for a replication area, do we want basically 100% coverage in one form or another?
One form or another?
I think we do.
We want 100, I'm just putting in something here for the replication area, just so you know when I'm typing it. 100% coverage, but we still want to have a shrub layer. So we could still stick with the 75% shrub survival. as long as basically we get 100% coverage.
Yeah,
Okay.
we also have some tree logs there, which won't be 100%, maybe more than 75, and as the agent can make in a professional
You're
call
talking
on
about
it.
the tree, are you shifting to the trees? Is that what I heard?
No, we are going to put in like the tree log there to improve the habitat, which is not going to have vegetation to overlay with that. You see, we put some wildlife features based on the recommendation of the commission
You know,
in the
we're
in
gonna
the
use that.
replication.
Yeah, no, that's right. So that's not gonna be, you're gonna have a log there. It's not gonna be vegetated, the same.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So if we say 100%, that will making that theoretically it will be unachievable. So
Yes, we're.
Trees, we want, I assume the trees would be 100%. The,
Right.
yeah,
Trees,
no, you
100%
can
fine.
specify the shrubs 100% survive, but the ground cover, if it's a 75%, it's pretty much standard throughout the this industry, and that's because they will continue to grow, you know. So that's you cannot be 100% seeded ground. So even in the lawn, you can have very micro spot. Sometimes it's not a bad thing, you know, for wildlife.
I don't think we're going to be picking over a little bare spots, but we need in the replication area is 100% coverage of some sort of some herbaceous or shrub layer in the replication area.
Or except the tree logs, right? The tree logs
So
we put in there
count the
for
tree
wildlife.
logs.
We
Count
can,
the tree logs
the
as
tree
cover.
logs are covered. Yeah,
Okay, then you have to say that though, because it's, I mean, we cannot.
we're
we
not
have to-
gonna. The tree log is not. We're not gonna wait for goldenrod to grow on the tree log. I think.
Right.
No,
I
but
think-
when you put in writing, black and white, you say 100%. It
Alright.
can be. I understand what you could right now.
John,
you can
okay,
say.
no more needs to be said. We will put something in there. Let's move.
Okay. Yeah, as long
Uh,
as it's
okay,
clear. I
fine.
mean, I just don't want something later on in people misinterpret it.
Yes. In the,
Can I just add one thing, just,
oh, sure, by all means.
okay, well, just you're gonna get 100% herbaceous cover if you just let it grow of something, it's gonna become 100%. Or, you know, with, gonna be plants that are gonna be packed as closely as they're gonna be packed anyway, so I'm not really sure what that herbaceous layer has to add to the 100% coverage. I think it's more you want,
So the goal would be that they actually get an herbaceous layer to grow.
yes, I think it, okay.
It should be a no-brainer, but we just want to specify it in case something strange happens. We just want to have it there, that's the expectation for that. And the buffer zone, we're still having the,
But the shrubs are something different, that's not.
right, that's right.
Right.
Oh, what are we gonna say about the shrubs?
Oh, no, you're not gonna expect 100% cover of shrubs, I hope
Oh,
not.
no, it's 75% shrub survival.
Okay.
It's the numbers surviving, it's not the coverage, agreed.
So I need to go back to that because you just said something different than what you said before. Before you said you want 100% survivability of trees and shrubs, meaning that if one dies, they replace it. But 100% coverage of the herbaceous layer.
Right,
In the
I've
replication.
backed off, I've written in here 75% for shrub.
Okay,
Trees altogether are gonna be, we'll have to clean this up. Trees are gonna be a 100% survival.
okay.
And the shrub, even in the buffer zone, the shrubs will stand with the shrubs will be the 75%. Unless it's survival.
I mean, I have a little technical
Okay.
concern about the
Go
just
forward.
call out herbaceous 100% cover because we have a mixed. If you go to wetlands, when you have a really established shrubs, under the shrub is very difficult to be 100% grow herbaceous. You know that. And even when we planting it, we made in compost around the shrub. You don't want any herbaceous to there because otherwise they're going to be competing for nutrients. They will
Not if you have some grasses and other things. I will disagree with you that as to whether you're gonna have any kind of
We just say
I'm gonna
between-
put approximately and so, and we'll live with that. We will be reasonable. But we want to make sure that we get good coverage. It's a wetland area replication thing. And there should be a fairly good, robust coverage there.
Yeah, if I may, so from my experience, you can specify shrubs, survivor, and then total coverage 100%. Because sometimes you know the ecosystem, sometimes they are a little bit competing, shrub and trees and herbaceous, they can overlay to some degree to provide over 100% even. But if you just say one layer have to be 100%.
This doesn't say that the herbaceous layers are, it says herbaceous and shrub 100%
Total, yeah,
coverage.
total coverage 100%. That makes
Yes.
sense.
Sorry if I wasn't clear.
I agree.
What's going on here? Sorry, my computer's acting slow too for some reason. For all the money I pay. Oh, come on, stop it now. Jesus. Okay. We're all witnessing the lovely process of a computer out of control. Let's see. So I lost it. What is going on? Wow. I guess this is the last time I do the editing in the SharePoint thing. I've never done this before. I will just do it. If it's part of the problem, I'll just do it on a computer next time. Wetland mix. I guess we're getting shrubs. Okay, it's like what you were finding. We'll have to okay, sorry for this delay. This is ridiculous. Okay, I think we've dealt with this herbaceous thing here. Completion of the project, material cut. Okay. We have the monuments. I'll have to come back and see how this replication stuff is included here versus on the plan. Whether I'd like to see copied in here. We have the 7 monuments. I guess there's a fence. Sorry about that. Do we have in here something about the fence as part of the barrier?
No, I can add that in.
Okay,
Michael, I made a comment previously that I want to repeat, which is I feel that the way the wetland is shown right now, it's not even clear to me what's going to be protected by these plaques because it's kind of a circular wetland delineation all the way around. And also, as I said in a previous meeting, I actually feel like that more of the buffer should be protected whenever possible, like perhaps behind the barn. So I guess I would say that I think that the whole thing of how to delineate this with plaques or with, our wetland plaques could potentially be confusing and could lead to more destruction of whatever buffer we could protect.
So Carol, one of the things we talked about at the last meeting was kind of the limit of what was the lawn or the previously altered area was the tree line. That's kind of the tree / shrub line. So we had them move their bounds out to that tree / shrub line and then straighten out that fence line across the front of the replication to capture. Michael, can you pan the plan over a little bit? So we can see that, yeah. Keep going.
I'm not confused about the part that's closest to the house. I think my concern that I've expressed multiple times is this whole area that, between the 50 and the 100, why are we not protecting that? Why isn't the commission requesting that be protected, considering that so much buffer has been eliminated and is going to be turned into lawn? And I know that we're coming toward the end of this cycle, but I want to bring that up again because it's an objection I have about the project and the impact on the wetland health.
I'll just say I viewed it as that this is already existing altered area that was lawn, that when people do projects, that in this case here, at this point, we've protecting a lot of this area is already altered. That basically, I feel that we are actually getting areas here that have been altered that have been altered that are even now protected, that overall we're doing well by keeping this tree line as protected and making clear this area here, which I felt we already had alterations in here, in that side there, and that we're just clearly that this is a lawn area that they're.
I don't understand if it says, you're saying that is the tree line? Is it the tree line?
This
You're saying
line
everything
here.
to the left of the tree line is lawn?
Yes,
Yes, that's already altered area as I view it, and that's what if they want to do stuff there, that's already been altered areas if somebody already had lawn there.
Well, that
As
may
it
be
was-
true, but then there's a huge amount of additional alteration that has not been in the buffer zone that hasn't been addressed, in my opinion.
Well, I feel like a lot of this area in the buffer zone was altered. I mean, I don't like the idea of lawn, but a lot of this was already altered. There was a house here with lots of other kind of stuff around it, so that I think a lot of this buffer zone that is going to be continued to be altered. And that I view it as basically drawing a line in areas I think that were even altered in here, that we're drawing a new line here that protects a significant amount of buffer zone that was previously not in the best of conditions and should be, and is now going to be protected. And I view that as a good balance against the fact that this is already altered anyway, and that it's now going to be outside of a more formal line. So I guess I view it as a reasonable balance between what's now going to be more clearly protected buffer zone and the fact that some parts of the buffer zone will continue to be altered. And because they were already altered, I don't think we're allowing previously unaltered buffer zone to be altered.
I don't know, when I was on site, it did not actually look to me like lawn. It looked to me like kind of a scruffy natural area, but
Yeah.
it was only there once.
Well, at this point, yes, I mean, maybe we should have had as part of a process in the future. We'll have to do this more carefully. But at this point, I probably would stay with the way it's set up here, that we get this kind of protected area here that goes around. I don't know what other commissioners feel. This was the issue that came up last time, and I know you disagreed last time, Carol. But whether other commissioners have any concerns about this.
See this as an improvement over the prior versions of the plan. I think that the clear, the addition of the shrubs that are more clearly demarcating the new backyard from the existing wetland and the replication area will reduce the risk of further disturbance.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I'm putting in here that I guess this is part of the 46, so I'm making the note choice that the fence and the monuments together create a protection there. You have 5 trees here. Moving on with the fertilizer and pesticide use here. We do have a tricky part here with the no alteration zone. For the applicant, traditionally, Most that there is no chemicals other than some organic fertilizers used in the buffer zone. Here we have an issue of in the no, it shall be used. Within the. So we have, and this is one of the few projects where we have a changing buffer zone from the green to the red to the pink. This would have this condition, which we haven't gone through before with the applicant, is essentially there's no phosphate. This has no fertilizer use back here as worded. Is that what you were intending, Joyce?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's in lawn area here.
Yeah.
Okay. This gets a little
I mean,
hard.
typically, we don't allow any work in the no alteration zone, so.
Right, I know, that's what's, well. I mean, often there's lawn in the no alteration zone, but that we face. The issue is how to operationalize the fact that essentially that given in exchange for basically being able to redo this whole area into lawn, whether we are would we allow any sort of
Organic fertilizer. So since this is downgrading, we have a barrier of the raised berm. So it's not going to really impact. I still don't like any chemicals anyhow. So John the owner, I think if he's living there, he probably doesn't want chemicals either. But to have some kind of organic fertilizer for the nourishing the lawn, it's probably a reasonable condition.
but that would be only and you're arguing even for in the this area here of the
Right.
lawn for
Yeah,
that.
just for that little backyard part. So other places, I mean, if they, and that is downgradient of the wetlands and also with the raised berm as a barrier anyhow. So I don't feel it will really impact the wetlands, but again, still don't like to use, I myself personally, I don't like any chemicals anyhow either.
Whether we're
May I make a point about fertilizers? First, I think organic fertilizers probably do contain some phosphorus. They probably should. And for initial planting of a lawn, sometimes the initial growth, it needs some phosphorus. It's just after that, it probably shouldn't have phosphorus applied to it, or if it is very low phosphorus.
I thought that soils in New Hampshire, in New England and in Sherborn are quite adequate in their phosphorus levels was my understanding.
I don't know if you're putting in a new lawn, what the phosphorus content of the soil is.
Or you can call zero. Right now, I think most of the fertilizers the permitting use is zero phosphorus contents. Given, just as Mike said, the soils contain phosphorus themselves. Actually, a good lime, you can spell it out. I would discuss. So actually, a good lime application will help to release nutrients in the existing loam. We have a plenty loam there, 12 inches to more loam, so it probably won't be that difficult to establish lawn here.
It sounds good to me then, personally. And
right, we just the organic part is if they don't have to really apply fertilizer to maintain their lawn, I don't know. There's not, most of the time I run into is builders putting like a 3-inch of loam or 4-inch loam. You have to rely on fertilizer. But if you have like a foot of loam, it's probably most likely will have very little need.
So Deshang, can we accept this thing here?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you
That's
put in
okay.
organic nitrogen slow release, that's fine. I have no problem.
Okay, fine. I'm gonna move on. This is post-construction. This is fairly standard stuff. Okay, so coming back to, so we've gone through the document here, and I guess what I would, the issue is really then most of the meat of some of the replication work and other things is really embodied in this on the plan itself. And what's it, 8:45 here? I guess we're basically whether we feel comfortable with what's on the plan with the changes that we've been talking about. Are
Yeah, the planting schedule is probably on the first sheet.
right, yeah, no, I'm just planning, I'll get to that. I just want to look at so we already discussed some language changes here.
Yeah.
And make a reference, okay.
Yeah, we will add the 3 inspections into the wetlands certification.
And the replication area is to growing, okay. And there's a definition, and we'll get the, and any changes will be made here basically based on some of the, and some of the wording from here about the coverage, 100%.
Yeah, we said 75 or more, so,
Right.
and then all as approved, maybe that we can add in like, all as approved.
Right. Because some of this stuff here, I just want to make sure to what extent that what we put in the order prevails versus what's on the plan here. Okay.
Yeah, normally anything different from the plan, usually the order will
Right,
prevail.
right. So we just have to be, I guess, Joyce, we'll just have to make sure that we get everything in the order right as we've been talking about what's going on there. And then we'll see what changes there, because then,
I'll update the draft and circulate it to everybody, including Deshaun, and see what
and
comes
this
from
is the
that.
planting thing here where we have in the buffer zone, in the replication area, we have 12 shrubs. These numbers will probably have to be revised here for the replication area.
Now, I counted those and those were right.
Oh, because I just counted 7 on one side, so I guess maybe 5 on the other since it's
So
smaller.
keep in mind that some of his symbols are herbaceous.
Okay. No, I just want to, because right, we're doing, how much is the about area of the replication area? Or I guess I can go look. The total replication area?
The total replication area is,
700 something,
yeah, I have it in the numbers on
745.
my order.
Oh, no, it's actually less.
I don't think it was 700 in total, really?
641 square feet replication.
600.
I just want to get the aggregate, 600 and what? 41.
641.
Oh, yeah, I see that there.
641, yeah. We only filled a very tiny bit, so
Right, but if we're
we
doing
reduced it, yeah.
641 divided by 36.
8 now, we change it to 8. Because that's what,
8.8?
yeah, you can see on the spacing. That's what's on
Oh, I
the,
see 8 foot on
the state wetlands guidance, the 8 to 10 actually. We used the 8 according.
Does that seem reasonable, Joyce,
Yes,
or others?
yep.
Okay. Then I guess the 12 seems appropriate for that. Just trying to get the aggregate numbers right. And on the okay, so basically we'll put it, so you should just check, if you've checked the 8 on 8, I just want to do the aggregate, how much buffer zone is going to be planted. Just check. Then that the number matches.
Buffer zone is, let me see.
We'll do it. You don't have to do it now. It'll be done when we finalize the order. Density of buffer zone planting. 8 by 8.
Jane, can you, when you send me something, can you calculate the total square footage in the buffer zone that's being planted?
I thought I have it somewhere, but that's what
Okay.
I'm looking for.
Does anybody else have any issues with the planting with these plantings here on the commission? What we've got here, Carol, or the people who know Carol, Jacob, Courtney, Steve.
Looks fine.
Yeah, I think, yeah, in our table, and I will find, I will let you know, it's in our, I think that impact tables, we have one category called out. And
Yeah, there is some number there probably, but
right, yeah.
okay, so we're okay with the plantings.
I think they're gonna look good. I think you're gonna,
What?
I think they're gonna look very good.
Yeah, okay, great.
And we already talked about finding the missing bottom line of the table with the other seed mix, right?
Yeah. Wetlands
Yeah,
is-
yeah, that I already make notes, so I will
Okay.
making sure that tape, I know it's there, it's just a cut off probably due to the width of
Okay.
the line.
Okay, so we've gone through the bulk of this all. There's always a little touching up there. What other comments do we have besides there was that general concern about buffer zone protection levels, which maybe we don't all agree with.
Yeah, 2013 square feet is number 10 on that, the chart at the table.
2013 square
Yeah.
feet.
Yeah, square feet of buffer zone in the 50-foot buffer zone with
What's going to be
plantings.
planted?
Yeah,
If you divided that by 64, you get about at least 32 shrubs. Going back down. Whoa.
yeah, and yeah, that's probably about, I think we also, because we have 5 trees there, so we take 5 out. So minus
Oh, yeah, the
32
5.
minus 5.
In
Probably.
the buffer zone, you have here 23. You have 23. So you're about right. Okay,
Plus 5 trees.
okay, you're okay. Okay, what other issues do we have here? We've gone through all of this. We know there's that one issue that's not the most satisfying in terms of some buffer zone protection. Are there any other concerns here besides the fact that we've got people? We've basically tried to stick in agent review of certain parts so that we can oversee how this process goes of replicating this, because I guess it's in terms of the soil composition, I think it's in here now. In terms of, right, the soils are going to be there. Okay, improve with 30%. Okay, so we have the changes here. We talked about the soils, which is one of the bigger factors. And the excavation points will be reviewed as part of the process. Okay, any other issues from the commission? Okay, then I will move, or from the applicant.
No, we are good. Yeah, just Joyce, when you finalize it, just that you say you will send it a copy to me. I just want to make sure we don't have any discrepancy as my notes, and I covered everything. So
Okay,
Do we have any members of the public that wish to comment?
thank you for bringing that up. Okay.
I have one question. Can you go back to the plan? Can you pull the plan into view? Just Carol making comments just made me think about, scroll down now a little bit. So, well, really. So pull it again a little more so that we can see the west side a little bit more.
The west side.
right-hand side.
The right-hand
Yes, I
side.
know.
Just a little bit. Okay, so the only, so we said, and Deshang did pull all his work to the tree line. But we don't have really, and I'm not trying to create more issues here, but we don't really have anything protecting that tree line in the 100-foot buffer zone. Because that last wetland
yeah.
bound is like in the middle of the buffer. Should that not be brought out to the 100-foot buffer zone?
Right. Yeah, no. I actually had thought that earlier. I forgot all about that.
Well,
issue.
if that any happens, so I think that 50 to 100 foot is not no disturbance, and we agreed with that. If they have to do that, they have to come in back to you. So it's not like something they can just arbitrarily go there. So
I think it should be pulled out there because at least that's makes it more protective.
Just to that point, yeah.
Right.
Right. This is basically the buffer zone. And it's the limit of the lawn.
Right. And then
That's-
the natural idea is to.
Okay, do we have any issues here about moving this to over here? And I'm not sure whether you even need a fence there.
There is no fencing.
no, there's no fence there, and I really feel that's a little bit at this point. So this is between the 50 and 100 is
Yeah, but you're
already
not
have a
proposing any
trees.
work there. just-
If they get to order that, if it's in your jurisdiction, it's a violation without any permit.
Yeah,
So
but-
if you,
But how would we know?
what do you mean? How do you know? Then you're not going. I mean, that's what every people have a wetlands. That's what's supposed to. I mean, if they don't come to you, that's in violation of a law, of course. I mean, people can still do something wrong, but if you don't give some trust into your citizens or people do the right thing on their land, then you have to really going to be like in China, zero tolerance.
I
I,
wouldn't go that far.
we
Let's not get
always
carried away.
put markers at the limit of work and we don't always follow a buffer zone exactly. It's still within our jurisdiction and no work is gonna, we do that, not just for the current owner, but, say, John finds a better house and sells this one. It's very helpful for the new owners to see that plaque and know that they shouldn't be deciding to have a weekend, where they chop down all the trees in that area. They'll know that there's something there and they would contact the Conservation Commission. This is something we've done many times in many projects. It's not limited to the 50-foot.
Well, that's the other important point is, of course, we protect the 50 to 100 as well. And in this case, a lot of that buffer zone is going to be lawn. I think this is very good.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of area
Why
that
it's a
you're
big
getting to
deal to move
alter
one
here.
marker.
I mean, there's a lot of area you're getting to put a whole house. I mean, you're substituting here, but basically a whole house, much of a house is being put in the outer buffer zone here. So therefore, that's part of why protecting a little bit more of the buffer zone here, which should be left untouched anyway, and just having a demarcation there is the request here. And so, so it's on the table for you to, that basically this marker, right, is, I forgot to bring it up since I had a problem that this marker, it doesn't really make any sense because we're not essentially giving permission that this area can be altered. The limit of work here is there, the limit of lawn is there, that I think the marker could be brought to this area here. And that would just serve as notification of what is actually the regulatory issue anyway of that work shouldn't be done in that area. If they want to do stuff there, they could always come back to us if there's something there. But I think at this point, this marker should be moved. I would agree with the press that it should have been over here to begin with, given the way we were talking about the limit of lawn and the tree line serving as a protective area for the buffer, because there's a lot of buffer zone already being significantly altered and used here, even though some of it was altered before, or most of it was, but to protect the quality of this area. So we'd like to have, I think, from the board, I guess, seems to be a little bit more of a consensus of the commission to move that marker there.
That helps to satisfy my concern.
That would satisfy a number of people's concerns to Shang.
That's
And
fine.
John.
I mean, so yeah, if John need to do, I know he would, he need to come back, whether you have the mark there or not under,
All right. the
under your law,
services
he
are-
has to come back to you. That's what
It's
that's what,
educational.
yeah, that's what I understand. I
Let's
don't,
go do it. Let's do it. Make a change there to move the marker there.
Yeah,
Okay.
fine. Yeah,
I
I was,
will now. Is any other issues there? Because I will now move to close the hearing. Okay,
I'm
I
good.
move, what? Oh. Did you already second before I set the motion?
No, I said I'm good with it. Let's go.
Okay, yes, we've spent a little over an hour going through this, which given, actually wasn't so bad, given that this is a particular project, different kind of project. Okay, I move that we close the hearing on 3 Prospect Street.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call vote, Michael, I. Kurt,
Aye.
Jacob,
Aye.
Courtney,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Carol. Did I hear an aye?
I said aye.
Oh, sorry. I'm going a little deaf here. Okay. Okay, I think we've gone through enough of this that I could basically say that I would okay. I
just
would-
one question. So when I submit this updated plan, I will date it today's date, right? So it may have to be happen.
It's all right. You work that out with Joyce. We don't
Yeah,
need to talk
okay,
about
yeah,
that.
Joe, I think Joyce and
Okay.
I talked about, we were
Okay.
using today's date.
We will get the right date in the plan there, so. we
Right,
can
right,
get
that's
Joyce
a
informed.
coordination. I want to
Yes.
make sure we use the
Right,
same.
we were trying to move forward here. But thank you for noting it. I move that this project of a construction of a new house and demolition of an old house and redoing of some of the driveway. And I guess appropriate removal of 5 trees, the filling of an isolated wetland with replication area of that is greatly exceeds the area of isolated wetland that will be filled. Planting of trees, replication of the wetlands, installation of markers and fence for a barrier. Is the project, I'm not doing a very good job here, work will occur in an isolated wetland and both the 50-foot and the outer buffer zone. And commission hereby finds that the proposed project, which includes replication, restoration, and mitigation for the filling of 177 square feet of previously altered isolated wetland, will not result in adverse impacts to the remaining isolated wetland. The commission finds that the applicant has presented sufficient evidence to demonstrate that this historic area was utilized as yard, and the replication, the mitigation measures proposed will enhance the isolated wetland. The commission also finds that the following conditions are necessary to protect the wetland resource for the duration of the project and in perpetuity, as to be in the order of conditions. To the extent that the following conditions modify or different from plans, the conditions of this order will prevail. So I'm going to skip this to that the commission hereby finds the proposed project is approved, subject to the findings and conditions that we've discussed in the hearing and to be in the order of conditions. I think that I will stop there. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion of this? Okay. Roll call vote. Michael, I. Kurt,
Aye.
there you go. Jacob,
Aye.
Courtney,
Aye.
Carol,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Steve.
Aye.
Okay. It's been a long process here. We've
Thank you,
learned a bit
appreciate it.
ourselves. Go forth and improve the beginning of Prospect Street, as we've heard from many of the people who drive by there, and hopefully, John, you'll enjoy your house.
Aye.
So I'm gonna revise this. I'm gonna circulate it. John, it takes a bit of time to get everybody out there because they all have to come to the office and sign things. So you probably will be perhaps the week between Christmas and New Year's before anything gets distributed. There's 21 days to write the order, but we'll try and get this out and issued.
So I can finish the septic once I get this order.
Once this gets the order, then it goes to the Board of Health and you have to deal with them.
Okay. Understood.
Yeah, we'll let them know that it's in
Yeah,
process.
I already talked to Mark about what they need. And so yeah, I will try to get the updated plan to you next week
Okay,
and date it
Good.
today.
good luck with your project, John.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Okay,
Spent 10 hours of my life with you guys.
there you
And,
go.
I'm just wondering, did you guys watch the Patriots at all last week?
I didn't get to that.
They're too busy to
All
watch
right,
it.
Yeah, I'll confess my differences that I watch more World Cup games.
All right.
Yeah, but yes, on that note.
All right, thank
part
you,
of our civic duty.
thank you for your time, thank you for your
Okay.
time.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's go on here, I guess. Since I see people here, let's do the land management trail grooming issue here before we move on to Finksys. I think Rafe is here for that. And what do you take it away? Between, I don't know, Rafe, whether you want to talk and
Sure.
Joyce, let's go on this.
Yeah. Should I just jump in, Joyce, or
Yes, please.
anyone?
Yeah.
Great. Hey, thanks so much for your time. I know you got a lot of pressing and urgent matters, and I appreciate the time, and I'll try to go through this as quickly as I can. Cutting to the chase, just asking for permission to use this snow dog trail grooming device on, land control by the Conservation Commission. The purpose is to make it easier and more enjoyable to use the trails in the winter after a snowfall for all kinds of activities. And there's a lot of towns in the area that are already doing it with this particular gadget. For example, West Hill Dam in Uxbridge, and Russell Mill in Chelmsford, Willowdale and Topsfield, and the Upper Rail Trail in Holliston. They were trying to get one of these gadgets. They weren't able to buy it. We helped them out a little bit last year, gave them a demo. We're going to try to help them do some grooming on the rail trail this year. They're very enthusiastic about it. So we used it last year. We got it in the spring of 21. We used it. We had permission to use it on town forest and a little bit of the trustees' land in Rocky Narrows, and also on some rec land in Jameson Field. We had permission for all of that. We used it. There was probably about 3 major snowfalls, so we kind of only got to really use it sort of after those 3 times, a couple times each. As far as I could tell, everybody that I ran into out on the trails, not literally, but came across, seemed very enthusiastic. They were very appreciative because it packs the snow down, and people, can either cross country ski or even just walking or snowshoeing, and fat biking, mountain biking with fat tires. So people, the response is pretty good. We hope to use it again this year if we get some snow. The climate's hard to predict, but we'd like to use it on the land. I did demonstrate it last year to Anna, who kind of wrote it up and took some video and presented it. We talked about it, but it stalled out with other priorities, which is totally understood. To kind of summarize, it's a very low impact vehicle. I feel like the noise, there's concern about it either being too loud or too quiet because you want to hear it coming, but you don't want it to disturb your time in the woods. I think it's kind of an appropriate noise level. You do hear it when it's coming, but then it fades out pretty quickly. It's basically like a snowblower. So, if people have their neighbors snow blowing, I guess they know what it is if it's right next door. But you're moving at about 4 or 5 miles an hour, generally about the speed of a kind of a slow mountain biker through the trails. So I think the noise is manageable. It's like I said, it's a 13.5 power snowmobile engine. It doesn't use a lot of gas. We probably use 2 or 3 gallons. It's like a gallon for 10 miles, and 10 miles would be a pretty busy, couple hours of grooming. So the idea would be to use it on, some or all, as much as you guys are willing, at any pace that you feel is appropriate. If you want to trial it for a bit, obviously we'd love to have a blanket, kind of use your discretion and use it, which is sort of what Town Forest has said, but it would never be with less than 6 inches of snow. If the idea were maybe to start with a couple of areas and see how that goes, I've proposed a few that would be highest priority. And the first, and this might sound selfish initially, but I assure you it's not, would be the Bailey trails, which are right out my back door. And the biggest reason for doing that is it is a little more art than science on sort of how the snow gets packed, and the snow conditions are always different. And we have 2 different grooming devices, kind of one for fluffier snow and one if it's thicker snow. And for ideal conditions for mountain biking, it kind of has to be a little moist, and then you groom it, and then it's got to freeze overnight and kind of set up, and then if it's perfect, you can ride on it, you don't sink in. And to get to some other area, it's sort of nice to know what the conditions are like and how they've evolved with the changing temperatures before you tow it put it in a pickup truck, or put it on I've got a rack that goes in a trailer hitch. So if I could do it on the Bailey trails, I think it'd be fun to use it there. It's not a huge area, and I do other areas too, but the idea is just that I could try it out and sort of see what the snow conditions are. So that would be just super helpful, even just to use it on Town Forest, just to get in the backyard. But it's a nice trail system. It's good. It's good for mountain biking. It's decent for cross country skiing. It's a little treacherous because it's windy and steep, which isn't so great for cross country skiing. But people are back there, and it's a nice set of trails. So that would sort of be number one priority. But wouldn't do much. It doesn't get a ton of use. I think the next one would be over at the Barber. And the advantage there is that we didn't do a lot of trails that were better for cross-country skiing. Cross-country skiing, you really want, kind of nice, wide, fairly flat trails, as opposed to mountain biking where people kind of go up and down and around corners and all that stuff. So that's more what we did last year. And Robert Wolf, who I think may also be on the call, is an avid cross-country skier. There's others. And the Barber area is really nice because it's wide open. You could even do kind of a side-by-side trail where you've got one that's set up with cross-country ski tracks and one that's set up for walking and biking or what have you, and people wouldn't walk in the ski tracks as much. So it's a great area. It's got plenty of parking. I think it's one of the best used. Rocky Narrows is great too, but you got a little bit of field there, but pretty quickly you get into the woods, and not as good for cross-country skiing. So any or all of the Barber, I think, would be sort of the second priority for me, although it's a close tie with the next one, and I don't know which one, if I had to choose between the two, I'd pick. But by doing some for the cross country, the Dover Sherborn High School cross country ski team, they were really appreciative and said, "Hey, we're trying to get out and practice. Could you go and kind of pack down some snow?" And we did it over by Jameson, which is pretty wide open, but a small area. They really like that Hope Still Reservation area. I haven't been over there much myself, but they've said this is a perfect, just sort of rectangular area where they can do loops on. And if we could groom over there, they specifically asked that we could do that. So I'd love to get permission there, and we could get the coach involved if anybody, wanted to hear from her or anything like that. Somebody who knows that area better said, that there's a mode path and it's mowed in the summer. So they were kind of like, hey, if you can do that with a motorized vehicle and run a lawnmower around, this wouldn't really be any more, of a big deal than that. So there's maybe a little bit of a precedent there in the sense that it's mowed. And then the last on my priority from the letter is just, kind of the Brush Hill area based circuit trail. So we've got permission to do Town Forest. That goes west of 27. And then you get, up and over to, I guess, Perry Street, where it turns into conservation land. So, and then that cuts all the way through, I'm forgetting exactly the streets, but basically comes out and then ends up on Dexter. That is an easement there through Coursebrook. So I'm not entirely sure how that would work. If it's sort of automatically, okay, because it's an easement, or if there's any other permissions that would need to be there. So those are sort of the first ones, and, and again, flexible to notifying people in advance, of any time that we were going to use it or afterwards, or if anybody wants to see it in action. I made this offer last year too. I can bring it to anybody's yard. I can bring it to any property. If anybody wants to try it out or whatever. So very, very flexible and appreciative, but mostly it's just because I think people will like having it, and it'll sort of enhance the use in the winter. So I'll stop talking there and see what questions people have.
Okay. Do we have, unfortunately, we didn't find, I forgot to go find the video from a year or so ago.
It's not on the website anymore.
Yeah,
I found the agenda for the date, but I couldn't find the actual the
Oh,
video.
really?
right
Oh,
up.
do you know what day it was?
I can go back and look.
That's all right.
Yes,
I
I
can,
can
it's
send
more
you.
better if you told me that while people are talking, but I don't know how many people here know what he's actually talking about or seen it. Does anybody? It's I don't know if we need to describe it for anybody because
Yeah, I could describe it. And I was thinking I could,
let me just
I
ask
don't
all
have
the
this set
people
up to
need
share my
it.
screen on my phone.
Yeah.
I can set it up on the laptop, but
Oh,
it's basically like there's a track like a snowmobile. So if anyone's familiar with a snowmobile, I mean, those are a lot more powerful, a lot more expensive. So not a great choice for us. But I mean, they do a good job, but they go 60 miles an hour, which we don't want on trails, and they're more powerful and more expensive, like I said. But those have two skis in the front and a big track in the back and kind of a bench that you sit on. This is the track is in the front, and then it just has handlebars and a trailer hitch basically. And these are actually originally built in Russia. They're now starting to make them in the US, and they were designed for ice fishing in pretty much like in Siberia. And so think of it as like a sort of a locomotive that pulls 2 or 3 sleds behind it. So people load up these sleds, you stand or sit in one of the sleds and kind of hold the handlebars, and this track pulls you forward. So the sled is just like one of those red plastic sleds that you slide down a hill on. It's a little bit reinforced on the bottom, a little stronger. And again, you either sit or stand in that, because there's no place to sit or stand on the thing
You could
itself.
stop talking now because I can show the video.
Oh, okay. Wow, look at you.
I will just do a little, let's see here. Oops. People see this screen here?
Yep.
Oops. Yep.
That's me standing in the sled, and that's the groomer that we used pretty much all the time when we did it last year. There's another heavier piece if the snow is thicker and deeper that you can also use, but if you don't have deep hard packed snow, which we didn't get a lot of last year, then it tends to kind of bog it down, so that the sled just goes a lot smoother.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little choppy, I guess, the video, but pretty good. I mean, nice that you found it.
Yeah, it's amazing the power of search. And I can't tell.
Yeah, it seems like it's not running, like it's not on play or something.
Yeah, I mean, I could play it
maybe
again. If people want to see it, I could play it again. I can't tell if oh yeah, there's just a description we had there. Okay. Do people whoops, I guess while I'm talking here, another part of the video. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to start it again. I like the idea of it. I liked it last year. I thought it was a nice compromise. I mean, the noise issue was a discussion from just summarizing what happened a year ago. There was concerns about noise and people for birding and other kind of activities that are quieter. There were some concerns about it. I'll just say my reaction is that right. I agree with those issues, but I think that the short period for which these things pass through in a given place, that I think it opens up access for a lot of other kind of passive recreation that I think is a good, that's reasonable balance. And I don't know if it happens that often, since we don't get that many, who knows how often we're going to get snowfalls. And then, and that it's a temporary disturbance that's limited for whatever, for the half an hour, maybe, that it's in noise level, even if that much, or 15 minutes. And then there's access for whatever, and the peace and quiet returns. And I sort of actually like the idea of the 2 trails too, in places where you can separate cross-country skiing, as one says. I've tried myself, and then you get people riding and stamping on it. So it's nice to see if we can get the tracks going there. So I'll just start off with saying that I think this would be a great thing to try out. We can always see if we get criticisms and comments, and keep in tune to asking people, so that we could always change. It's not like it's we have to make a commitment to this as opposed to let's try it out and see how people like it and what responses we get. As Rafe said, he's gotten some positive, for the most part, good responses. In other places, I don't know if we've heard any criticisms or whether you've gotten any negative feedback. But so I'd like to see what other people think, and then we can talk about, if we all agree, where we want to start this as an experiment and see how it plays out, given the list of what he gave us. What do other people feel?
Well, this actually came up with the land management group, and so I've given a lot of thought, and it's so funny. I actually feel ambivalent about it for a couple of reasons, and probably would like to suggest that whatever, if we decide to go ahead with it, that we start just maybe in one conservation land. So why did I feel ambivalent about it? I think one thing is that I look back at the description of conservation lands, and like the first sentence is the word peaceful. And that, the idea is for us to be, it says it is open to the public for peaceful enjoyment and uses compatible with the natural environment and consistent with conservation purposes. I don't think that, something driving around for 20 minutes is going to frighten off all the wildlife. But I would say that for me, one of the things that I thought about, and I actually, if anybody wants to look at my blog on greensherborn.com, I wrote a blog about going up to Hidden Meadow one day with my husband after a snowfall. We could see that somebody else had gone on cross-country skis, and we went on our snowshoes, and it was just so lovely and untouched, and kind of this feeling of discovering nature and enjoying it. And I literally wrote in my blog that, only one other two other people had come ahead of us. And maybe it's my own romantic feeling about natural places, that it's nice sometimes really to feel that you're in the untouched woods, or, you're in Vermont instead of in Sherborn. That makes me feel like I wouldn't want to have this be widespread. I would really support, though. It's funny that that you brought up Hopestill, Rafe, because I think that's one of those ones that is kind of very open. It looks perfect for cross-country skiing. It's interesting to hear that they would love to have that groomed. I think that could be a great test case. We could see if other people, go there and say, this is great. All the cross-country skiers like it. Doesn't bother us to have the noise. That would kind of be my preference, is to, approach this somewhat slowly and start to get some input. And, I'm curious how other people feel about this kind of feeling of untouched nature, and feeling like a new snowfall is just a super special, beautiful thing.
I'll go next. I love the idea. I think that it seems like what's being proposed is really going to allow more people to peacefully use some of these areas, because if the snow is too deep, you might be able to get through on your snowshoes, but you probably can't get through walking, and you might not even be able to get through on skis, depending on how deep it is. So I love the idea of allowing us to use our town in a more outdoorsy manner in the winter. I mean, we all do what we do in the summer, fall, and spring, but when there's snow, you're kind of limited in what you could do to where the snow's been cleared. I personally love the idea. I love the idea of clearing the area for the kids to ski in the high school. But I'd be all for, sure, maybe we don't give carte blanche right away, but I'd be very willing to offer at least a handful of different places to give them a crack at it, see how people like it, see if there's any complaints.
Okay, thanks. Next.
I agree with that, Carol. I do hear your reaction, but I think I think as long as there's a short window between when the snow falls and the time when the trail's groomed and it's not everywhere at once, I think there's still an opportunity for that. And I agree with Maddie that creating the opportunity for more people to peacefully explore the areas in a way that doesn't disturb them is worth trying. I also agree that we don't necessarily want to limit it to one site, because that won't give us information about what the preference for usages of them are. if, for example, if we try a couple and find that some of them are not used, then we shouldn't continue to groom those in the future. And I don't see how we would learn that other than trying it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm also supportive of this idea, and as someone who I'm on the trails a couple times a week all year long, and in the winter, you know, unless I'm going to be putting on snowshoes, which isn't as common, you know, it's quite difficult to walk. You know, if there's any, you know, if there's been any substantial snow, and that's fine. I mean, obviously I know what I'm doing. But after a couple days, when it's been packed down a little bit, the walk is much better. It's much more like my normal walk when there isn't snow. So I don't think it would be, you know, terribly disruptive to the peaceful nature, you know, certainly not for a prolonged period of time. And I think it would open up the trails to a lot of people and a lot of uses who wouldn't otherwise maybe be able to get out or get out for that length of time. And I also agree that it would be a good idea to try it on several different locations for the reasons Jacob just said. So I think those 3 locations you mentioned, Rafe, the Bailey, the Barber, and the third one, I think where people would be cross-country skiing. That seems to be a good variety of uses, and I would be personally interested in checking out all 3 just to see how it works in sort of those different types of trails. So.
You're muted.
Well, I would generally agree that this should be tried in more than one area. I hear Carol too. I don't think Rafe is going to go on and do all the areas in town, but there's definitely some areas that could be.
It would take them a long time to do all of this anyway. So in that sense,
no, I know that. What I'm saying is that should allow, at least for some spaces, to not be touched, at least in the beginning. Maybe we could even designate those. I don't know. But I think it does. It is nice to make it more accessible to more people to get into the woods. But I also have experience. It's really nice to be out there when it seems untouched in the new snow. But there will be plenty of areas like that, I think, and especially if it's not a permanent decision, but it's not a permanent decision anyways, and we can always revisit it.
I like the idea of it. I like trying it in a few places. You know, I agree with Carol. I mean, I'm more one of those quiet, peaceful people that can't stand listening to blowers every weekend. Actually, it's more than it's like 7 days a week. But so the one thing about Barber is that we did have a problem with illegal ATVs on there, and I'm telling you, we got a ton of complaints from abutters. So I guess the only thing I'd want to know is like how extensive, how often would you be grooming a trail? You know, if it's, say by some miracle, you know, we got a nice snowfall and then it snowed again, would you have to groom it again? How long would it take? You know, I just don't want to get the neighbors too worked up, you know.
So we seem to be in agreement that we want to try something.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of degree, and Hope still seems to be an easy one since that's already by 2 roads. So it doesn't have that kind of, it has a different kind of nature than some of our other properties. So I think, for one, I think we'd all agree that Hope still should be done and work it out with the school cross country. And we'll see. Obviously, there are some neighbors there, but I guess we'll see whether there's any reaction to them. We know some of them, since many of us know Richard.
We should probably give if we know some of them, we should probably give some of them a heads up, just because otherwise the agent will be getting phone calls that there's an illegal motorized
We
vehicle.
can do a little notification of abutters. We can even do a notification of abutters, just stick it in their mailbox and mail it out to people just to let them know that this is an experiment that we're doing.
Mhm.
So that neighbors know it. So
Yeah.
we can just incorporate some sort of notification, maybe.
Maybe they'll go use it. and
Maybe
tell
a
us what they
notification.
think.
The fact that also it's not all snow, because as Rafe said, if I heard him correctly, that it's a 6-inch minimum before he'd even consider doing this. So there's a lot of snowfalls to be had. That will give us a lot that are still easy to walk around in without any disruptions. But we will, so we have some notification that we could try to work on depending on where we go. And we're agreement on Hope still.
You have a question about
place.
Hopedale?
What?
On Hopedale, if it's used by the cross-country team, is parking going to be an issue? Where would they park?
They can park across in Leland Mill.
Is there not a very big parking lot?
It's not a big parking lot. Well, they'll have to figure that out. They'll either have to figure out where there's room along the road, or they'll have to do something there, but I don't think I think that's a task that they can figure out. I don't feel the need to be concerned, other than the fact that we would make it, that we would make it available to them, but I could see it being an issue. I agree with you that it could be an issue, but I'm not sure how big. I think cross country is one of the no cut teams maybe at the school. So who knows how many people will do it, but we'll figure that, they'll see how that works. But I would say, so we have Hope still, we're gonna do some notification, so we're doing experiment. The question is whether the Bailey Trail is an interesting one of, because it has some practical experimental value to Rafe, when they're willing to throw in that kind of consideration into this one, even though it's a nice quiet place, and whether it's the whole trail there, it's that whole round circuit there that you would want to do, Rafe, or is it just part of the Bailey?
Sorry, I was muted, but yeah, it's pretty much kind of like an 8, where it's like a circle,
Right.
and then there's kind of a middle piece.
I think I could picture that.
And so I would, I don't know. I mean, ideally, I'd probably just go and do the loop, and maybe I'd do the middle, or I wouldn't. But it's sort of like once you're using it, you kind of. I mean, I don't mean the dog, but I mean now you're maybe going to go for a very short fat bike ride or a snowshoe or a hike. You wouldn't want to get to a spot where you were sort of dead ended or anything like that. So you'd probably.
I'm just wondering whether we
Yeah.
just do the whole loop and not the middle as a compromise. So people who want to
You
have,
know what? I'm
if people want
open.
to do
I'm
that.
open if maybe that's a. Yeah, I mean, if people wanted to contrast the two or something, I think there's a couple little offshoots and things that I probably wouldn't do.
We wanna, okay,
So there'd still be some, fresh snow if people like, and I can totally relate to that as well when you're on snowshoes, where sometimes it's fun just to go traipsing through the woods too, off the path, which I think is okay to do when there's plenty of snow underfoot.
As a way of moving forward, do we want to just go through a few properties that as a group and give them some okay on a few properties as the process? And that's how we can get through this tonight. We can always
I just had a quick comment or question about the Bailey, because the Bailey used to have the outer loop went all the way around, and then there's been a no trespassing sign on part of that loop.
Oh, there is?
From Silverwood. I think part of it is now owned by Silverwood Farm. I don't know, Rafe, have you noticed that?
Absolutely, yes. And we've actually been in touch with the owners who have said, don't put it in writing, but if you're walking or biking, it's okay to cut through there, because they were really trying to keep people off. Before they put that sign up, it was a steep hill. It's kind of like this one steep hill in that area. And then if you took a right, there's a stone wall, and they would always have that labeled no trespassing. And there were some people who ignored it at one point. So to keep anyone from even being tempted to go in the place where they really didn't want people to go, they closed off the road, the path that would even get you to that. And then I think George Fisk was the one who sort of negotiated the sale and the the terms. And he went back to him and said, "Hey, you've kind of cut off this corner of the loop. Is it okay people go through there, and he said, yeah, but I don't want to put that in writing or make it formal that I've given that.
Oh, I
permission."
thought
So
it
that's
was
sort of where
formal.
it stands
Oh.
now, which is a little weird. I think I probably wouldn't do that section because it's a little steep for the snow dog. It would be hard to get up and down that. But you can still kind of do a loop. You know, you don't need that piece to kind of complete the loop. There's some other trails that kind of allow you to keep going forward without crossing that. So I would stay off that. And there's another one that says, please stick to the trail because this is private property. So that's fully
Right, that
open
was
to go
part of
through,
an
but there is
easement
one that
deal.
says no trespass.
Right, because I thought part of when Silverwood got that property, that there was an easement for the trails that were there.
It seemed to be a bit of a miscommunication because
Yeah, okay.
I was the one who had to go out and put the signs up that said no trespass. I was like, how can this possibly be that they closed off this one loop that everybody uses? And so there was a little bit of back and forth, and that's when the owner kind of said, don't worry about it too much, but he didn't want to make it official anyway.
I think
We
it
want
might
to-
be- Michael, that might be something that we should just clarify for our own sake, for conservation commission's sake, because it does kind of cut off this section of the loop that goes all the way around the
Well,
perimeter.
somebody needs to talk to George Fisk, who originally might be the easiest way, since he was the one who
Yeah,
negotiated.
and I did because we were
No,
like,
no,
what,
but we
how
have to
could this
more
possibly have
formally get
happened?
clear.
Officially
Yeah,
from.
but it'd be nice to follow up. And in fact, I'd love to do a reroute of the trip. We talked about doing that, of just kind of doing a better reroute. There's some nice trails through there, and it'd be
Okay.
kind of fun to do it. But anyway, we
Harold,
just
do you
haven't gotten
want
there.
to talk with Rafe or go talk to George Fisk? Is that something you're willing to take
I
on?
can send an email to George if you have his current email address. And the other thing I would just ask you, Rafe, is over on the other side, on the street side for Old Orchard, there's a lot of abutters along that part of the trail. I mean, and I'm just bringing that up that if we're thinking we're gonna contact abutters, there's loads of them over on that side, about, I don't know, 6 abutting houses.
Yeah, and I know a bunch of those folks. And in fact, I was attempting to reach out to a couple people with email just to kind of say, like, almost like to say, like, hey, wouldn't you guys like for me to do this? You know,
Yeah.
and so that's one of the reasons I like doing it here too, is because I feel like I'll run into people that I know and they give me some honest feedback. And if they're like, you know, we don't like it, you know, they're my neighbors. I definitely don't want to do anything
Well,
that's
why don't
irritating them.
you,
Not that I want to irritate anybody else, but
So in following through any of these, we'll try to do some notification of the area. And so we'd have the hope still. We want to do the sort of one loop around the Bailey.
That sounds good, a loop.
Yeah, so we have a Bailey loop, don't have to do the figure 8 parts of it. There's some areas left. In terms of the Barber Reservation, our prized little property there, whether we want to do, because it would be nice to be able to, whether there's some loop there that we'd like to have around the big fields, because it's always, I don't know, it's always kind of nice to be able to walk around or cross country or even a snowshoe around the outer bits of the fields there. Do we want to allow basically as part of this going forward here to just sort of do a loop from the parking lot in and then around the perimeter of the 2 big fields? How do
I think
people feel about that?
I think it's important to do something at Barber, just because a lot of people use that one and we can get some feedback on it. I just wouldn't want to go too crazy where.
Well,
Rafe-
that's what I want
Yeah.
to get at. Let's just
Yeah.
figure out what to do.
Yeah.
Let's just pick something here and get it going so that we can expand it or shrink it, but let's pick something. That's why I proffered going in from the parking lot along that road there. And you get to the big field, we can do the big loop around the big field. The question is that the smaller big field, whether we want to have a loop around that too.
Can I make a
And
suggestion, Michael? Because I live on Western Avenue, so that's like we're there a lot.
Backyard.
Almost. So I would say that I agree with you. It would be good to go down the cart path, go straight across to the top of the north, along the top of the north field. And then come straight down, come back along the bottom of the north field. And then if you keep going, you can just get into the middle field and skirt along the edge of the middle field. I'm happy to show you on a map, but there is a really nice long, it would make a nice long cross-country ski run, I think, if we go along the perimeter.
Okay, so we have a
Fantastic, we'll use Carol's route.
Yeah.
we have the Barber loop there. And let's see other things and the Barber loop might be an interesting place, given it's an open field, where if you have the time again, whether we want to ask him to do the double trail, if that's an area that he could do that, whether we want to play around with the double trail somewhere.
What does that mean?
That means where he has one where somebody could be doing cross-country skiing and other people walk. Because sometimes when people walk, you muck up, depending on how skilled you are with your cross-country skis. Whether is that an area that would make sense for you, Rafe, or?
It would. One thing we're still trying to work out, because they sell this groomer, which we didn't end up buying last year, which actually cuts the cross-country skis. Now,
So that would be.
we didn't have that. You know, we just did we did kind of a wide path for the cross-country ski team, and some of them are doing the ski skating, so they don't actually use the narrow ones. And we held off because we weren't sure if we could use it on the properties in town where we'd want to use it, so we didn't buy it. And now that's one of the items that used to be made in Russia that they haven't moved the manufacturing to the US in. So I haven't been able to find one, and I'm looking at other brands. So for now, we may build something, but we could still do two side by sides. It's just people would have to sort of figure out what they were, because it wouldn't actually have yet.
No, we wouldn't map it out and say cross-country skis to the left, whatever to the right. But
again, you know, I mean, hopefully the purpose now, like, so it's, I can't 100% commit to like that. I actually will be out, you know.
I can believe that you wouldn't have the time to do it all. Right.
But it's at least to know, you know, and there's some other people who do it. So it's just at least to know that we can, and we're all in agreement that it's something we'd like to try, and then we'll have to figure out what we can do. So, but I think I think the thinking is clearly, that's a good area for cross-country skiing. If we can get the groomer worked out, especially for that, that's great. If not, we can either do, you know, we can do a wider one or two next to each other, you know, anything anybody wants. So I guess we'll use our judgment, or we're happy to do
you could
to
use
any
your
specs
judgment,
that anybody wants.
But at the Barber one, you could say that you can do a double if it makes sense, because that's got the space.
Perfect. That's great.
Okay, how about that as a,
As a starting point.
Robert, yeah, we can have this as start, and there'll be notifications at least for 2 out of the 3. I'm not sure we need to do notifications for the Barber, if people are okay with that.
Sorry, that's you guys will notify who you know that are abutters.
We'll have to go figure that one out there, but I guess.
Okay.
Bob, you want to speak? Robert? You have your hand up. You want to? Whoops, we're not hearing anything. I don't see you muted, but I don't see.
I can see his hand up. I don't see him, but he's not muted.
Right.
So something's up with his microphone if he's talking.
He's lost in his picture.
Just ask a question. I'm supportive of those 3 areas, but I'd also be supportive if the Bailey Reservation, if it would, the figure 8 would make it more interesting or better. I don't really know. I mean, it seems like right now it's a fairly limited number of trails that possibly could get this grooming.
Which one, on the Bailey, you're saying?
Yes, I don't know. I don't know the area, so I don't know.
Oh, no, I was just thinking that for people who might not want to have the grooming, that we could not have the figure 8, but it's to see if it makes a difference. That was only my logic of just keeping it at a loop. But we could see how it goes. We can come back and see. Who knows if we'll get to it? If there's a lot of snow, we probably can be. Who knows if we'll get to this.
I use Trail Forks to look at these trails, so I don't, you know, if you want to share, or wants to look at it. But there's a letter 8 that's perfect, and I can do that, or I don't have to do the middle part. And you can see where
it's been a long time today, so I would say if you want to draw out a map and on these things here and send it to us, and we can look at it as a small discussion at another meeting, so that if you want to put forth something there. But at this point,
I'll keep it to a circle. I'll keep it to the oval.
Okay, so notification. Is that something that somehow we can people want to help out with? Because let's say Hope Still, there's not too many houses there. There's only about 3 or 4 houses there. I don't know whether this ADU, Rafe, whether you're willing to take on notification of the Bailey people, since you know them all, and that way you can get feedback, or whether we want to do the notification to get feedback ourselves. What do people say? Since it'll take some effort that whether somebody has.
You know, we've been putting in our newsletters and in the mailer that we sent out. We've had pictures of these things. We've mentioned it a bunch of times that we're doing this.
I would
It's
just like
gone
to
out
have
to
a
the
little
whole
letter
town.
that you stick in each person's mailbox along the way there, even though that's illegal. I
Yeah,
guess.
I mean, it literally just arrived in the mail over the last week, and there's a picture of the groomer, and it says, "We're doing this."
Oh, no, I'm just trying to make sure that you get everybody along. with
Yeah,
it. That's not necessarily. in
I mean,
the-
my proposal would be, yes, I I kind of informally outreach, like anybody I see on the trails, anybody I run into, anybody, like just kind of let them know. But again, I made the analogy to the snowblower, and I think that might have been the wrong one, because somebody might be listening to the snowblower for half an hour next to their house.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
just trying to
really
give you a
good.
sense of the sound you're going to hear, but you're going to hear it for like 45 seconds,
Oh, yeah.
and then it's going to be gone.
That's part of why I feel comfortable trying to play with this, is that it's nothing like snowblower duration.
Like if anybody even know, like, I mean, I use my chains, I clear the trails, and it's more noise with the chainsaw when I'm out clearing a blowdown.
So coming
honestly.
back to moving this thing to, what are people thinking about? How much we ask, who wants, how we do notification, who's gonna do it? Cause with Hope still, there's a few there whether. I mean, I guess I could go let Richard know. I don't know the other people that are there, but how do we, or whether, I don't know, Joyce, what kind of time you have going forward to just sort of.
Well, I can put
It's a little-
together an abutters list. I'm not entirely familiar with all the areas yet, so I may need some help identifying these areas that you're gonna be working at, and then I can put together a butters list and a letter.
Okay, so we will try to do some sort of notification. And if we have problems with that, we know where to find you, Rafe.
Perfect.
So we'll
Appreciate
work
that.
on that there. And, okay, so should I think we should do a motion. Do people feel like we should formalize this as a motion? Okay, I move as an experiment that we allow trail grooming on 3 properties, Hope Still, the Barely, and the Barber. We will undertake some notification. And then Hope Still, it'll be around the perimeter in concert with working with the school's cross-country team. The Bailey will be a loop that we will get a map from Rafe about. And on the Barber, it'll be the Carroll Trail that she will work out with him. And I think that's the end of my end. Just noting that this is an experiment, and we'll try to see what feedback we get on this. Either way. Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Michael, I, Courtney,
Aye.
Carol,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Steve, Jacob,
Aye.
Kurt.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, Rafe. Appreciate it. And we'll see what kind of snow we really get.
Exactly. Hey, thanks everyone so much. I really appreciate the attention and the feedback and the concerns, and hopefully it'll be a success for all. So thanks
Me
again.
too. Right, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. We now have we have a budget. We have 2 items left mainly. And a okay, there's 2 components. There's really 3 to our budget, but this is the stuff we talked about last time. We have to vote on it today. This is on the left side here. This is the formal filled in spreadsheet that's required that every department in town does. What we have here is showing again, I'll just skip to Form 5. You figure out how to shrink this thing in this abbreviated version of Word. Wow. This reflects, the budget reflects that we're changing. Oh, this is not correct. Thought I had revised this one. I guess I put in the wrong form here. Wow. Excuse me, gang. Oh, this is as budgeted. Never mind. FY23, here's FY24. This reflects the shift here of an increased rate so that we can hire an experienced person. So that it leads to a much larger increase in the agent. You'll have to assume here, we're basically doing, the previous salary would be, this plus 4.5% would be about $33 or $34, with just the cost of living increase, as you see there. But we're putting in a $40 salary, as we discussed last time, in order to give leeway to hire an experienced person, given the market. We've shifted the hours down a little bit. The administrative assistant, Deborah, is basically getting the COLA and keeping the same hours. Although she's been working a little bit more, given the fact that we don't have a full-time agent here. So these are the numbers here that led to the costs up here, whereby we have a significant increase in the agent because of the salary increase is quite large. The hourly rate is large, but the hours go down a little. The 4.1% on the administrative assistant is the standard cost of living that everybody is what's considered level funding. To cover our increased cost up here of about $6,000 or so, we made adjustments in our conservation property management. That would cover the difference, so that overall, where we could have a cost increase of about 3 or 4%, we're slightly under 3% over the previous year. It's actually about the same, or maybe a few $100 less than a level funded budget, which includes the COLA, as explained in the document here. So I'm going to stop here. There was a document that was written up that hopefully you all got a chance to read. Because this is what we need to vote on, because I need to submit it tomorrow to the town administrator in preparation of meeting with him next week. I saw some comments in here from Courtney about a sentence that didn't make any sense to me either. I don't know of anybody else. I don't see any other comments in this document. How do you want to do it? Have you guys read enough? Do you need to look at this thing? I mean, I'm willing to wait 5 minutes or so if people want to look at this. It's one of those issues.
I have a high level question that's not about the content. It's just about what's included and what's not in this. So for example, for the two salaries, it seems as though the amount that's in the budget is only the direct salary. It doesn't include the other costs of employing somebody. Where do those go? So for example, benefits or employment taxes, the employer's portion of employer taxes, does that get handled somewhere else?
That is handled somewhere else for everybody. It's an interesting issue that in the past, many years ago, I brought up the fact that, right, these don't have the full cost burden in there, but that's because some of that stuff is uniform. Yes, it's handled in some other part of the budget.
Okay, thank you.
Some of it has to be done there for personnel reasons, because for benefits and healthcare, that's a privacy issue.
Michael, is this the time to talk about line items, or no? That's not.
Sure, let's go, because we have to prove this.
Okay, meetings and seminars, certificate training at 8 courses at $55 a piece is $440. So presumably, I don't know, Jacob probably outlaid a fair amount of money for training, and other people have too. So I'm wondering if that should be higher.
Yes, we've not used it all because people have often absorbed it. So we haven't budgeted higher. We can move some money in there as needed because we do it there. But yes, it's been hard to budget that because attendance has been very up and down over time, and whether people request reimbursement has been up and down. At this point, I'll leave it what it is, and we'll try to see if we need to cover some more costs. We always might have shortcomings in other budgets that we can cover it with, or we can go and ask for a reserve fund transfer if it turns out that people are particularly get educated. But I suggest we leave it where it is and see how it goes. We can change it next year, but historically, we've not exceeded that.
So it sounds like I'm not clear if you're encouraging people to get reimbursed or hopefully they.
It's a matter of up to you. It's personal preference. And so, so I don't want to discourage people from it at all. But don't be intimidated by the budget.
I would say that in the past, certainly people who've gone to MACC conferences have submitted for reimbursement, and often the agent would actually sign several people up. So since we want people to get that training, it's wonderful training. It makes you a better member of the commission. I think that everybody should feel comfortable to submit that expense.
By all means, I'm just saying, don't be constrained by the budget. We've managed to fit it up to date, but if it doesn't work this year, we could always exceed that budget this year and find other ways to supplement it.
Okay, thank you.
Other comments on either side of the page? I could scroll down on, if people want to read the budget justification again. I could scroll down if people are actually reading it, or make it larger.
I did get a chance to review it, and it all looked reasonable to me.
Okay. Others want time to read? Pipe up now before I make a motion to approve this budget, which is has to be approved by the select board, and then it goes to advisory and then to town meeting. And changes along the way might appear. Or as we get feedback, we could get feedback next week, for all I know. Hearing nobody asking me to scroll or anything else, I move to approve the budget as captured in these two documents.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Michael, I. Courtney,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Jacob,
Aye.
Carol,
Aye.
Kurt.
Aye.
Okay, now I'm going to bring up the third document that was in here of let's see. It slowly does it here. Even though, as we've discussed, we have three funds that some of which we only learned about quite recently, that are listed here that we talked about the last time briefly. Conservation Trust Fund is the one that we've been working with for a number of years. That was something set up many years ago that originally had about $25,000 or $30,000, which we've spent on one-time special improvements of our lands. It helped with clearing out a lot of the Barber Reservation field edges and other properties that had been not getting much. There had been encroachment, in particular about fields and invasives issues. And we started doing a lot of work there, and we expended funds from this. This was something that we went to the select board many years ago and talked about how we're using it for land and open space improvements that we went forward. The monies, we still have some left there. And in fact, we used some of that money to co-fund some grants applications with the DCR, the Department of Conservation and Recreation at the state level. And we actually were awarded quite a number of grants to do work on invasives as well as some forest stewardship. We did some forestry work at the Barber Reservation. That still was an experiment. And we actually had some hardwood. At that time, we actually had some firewood and pulpwood taken off, and we used it actually to counterbalance the cost of clearing some of the stone walls and other field edges there. So we did something that was earned some money, and well, the overall deal with the forester was that they would do the remunerative forestry work. In exchange, they would also do some of the other work around the fields, so that it came out to a zero cost. But we also, so when we did some of the grants with DCR, it turned out that we were also co-funding it with our time and our energy and volunteers, and that somebody still came back. So that in the end, what we just learned, that reimbursement from that, all of that work over there, we haven't done it in a few years, but we had about 3 or 4 years of these grants, that somehow the reimbursement came back in certain ways, that we just found out that there's a $31,000 fund that's been sitting with the town, that from reimbursement from those grants, that I'm still a little bit surprised at that order level of reimbursement, but this has been already cleared after several years. So that's another fund that we just literally learned about, that we have to figure out what we're going to do with. There's also the state wetlands filing fee fund, that when people apply, I'll repeat again, when people apply for an NOI, for example, they pay a fee to the state, as well as a fee to the town, that is based on each one of our state law and act and regulations, as well as our bylaw and regulations. What's interesting is that part of the state fee is retained by the town, about half of it. And that money has to go into a separate filing fund, which is what is item number 2 there. And historically, that was not a lot of money. But it turns out that, as we're learning now, that it has accumulated quite a kitty there, as you could see. Something to be checked, actually. That order of magnitude seems daunting, that given the level of activity. But some of the bigger projects that we've had as of late, normally the state fees are quite small, and why our fees are higher. But I think in the last number of years, we've had a lot of larger projects for which there are much larger state fees than would be historically that we've seen. And so therefore this fund has grown significantly. This fund has particular limitations in terms of only being used for wetland regulatory work, which could include paying for staff and consultants and things. What we were starting to think about how we would come up with a plan, since this is a bit of money, and to be fair to the town, we should figure out what's the appropriate uses of these funds. Given all the transitions of the last year, we haven't gotten around to that. So over the next, what's written here in this memo that I was going to send to the town administrator and the select board, is that we plan to work on this as a commission, as well as working with the select board and the town administrator to talk about uses of these things, of these funds, and how they're being be allocated. For example, one of the ideas I've had is that the state filing fee fund could be used to cover on a sort of, you don't want to exceed it, but maybe $3,000 or $4,000 a year could be allocated to covering the agent's cost, so that we can buy down some of the town's cost for our staff. But these are things we need to work out carefully, and we can work it out with them. But this is something just to put on the table so that everybody knows what these things are. And that's something that we want to work with the select board and the town administrator over the next year to see how to make plans for these funds. Anyway, and so this is just an introduction. In this memo here is just an introduction to the funds with essentially what I've said verbally. In terms of, that's the end of it, actually. It's just a little blip on each one of them.
Michael, I think this is a really good memo, and also it's kind of the beginning, as you pointed out, of a process we can do internally with the commission, where we can say, okay, let's look at each of these funds. What are the possible or appropriate uses? And maybe come up with our wish list. I know that the land management group has talked a little bit about things like invasive control, anything that goes on to these wish lists. We'd have to obviously try to get some estimates of what the costs were. But I think it's actually such a boon that we suddenly have discovered that we have these funds, and we certainly have plenty of things that we could use them for that will be very constructive for preserving the conservation lands as well as wetlands.
Okay, thank you. So I'm actually going to make it from me as the chair. We don't have to vote on this letter. It's purely a descriptive item here.
Michael, I might suggest adding at somewhere near the very beginning, just a sentence or two of purpose around what the rest of it is for. Basically, what you had said verbally, because as written, it's a little bit it's a little bit difficult to tell that the purpose is for introducing what these funds are, and not, for example, asking the select board a question or something of that form.
I think that's a great idea. So it might say something like, this memo summarizes what these funds are for, and make it real simple. I think it does say later, it makes it pretty clear that we're going to do some thinking through.
In this paragraph here,
Yeah.
basically, it's just saying that we were going to develop plans for these funds. But you're saying this paragraph needs a little more muscle.
No, that paragraph's fine. I think it's just the introduction of why are we writing to you?
Oh, the fact that it takes to the third paragraph before they hear that.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I could actually just move this paragraph up and then move this down a little bit. Would that achieve the purpose? I wouldn't totally. I would still say it's for 3 funds, period. It was
okay.
I would put a period here, and then I would have that paragraph, and then I would have the 3 funds are. So I would just basically. Okay, I'll make something here that'll. I'll do my best. I'm not the best wordsmith, but I'll try to get something in here to revise there. Okay. Any other comments on this? I don't think we have to vote because it's purely descriptive. I'm just exercising it as the chair. Okay. Then let's see, moving on. I'm not sure whether we'll get time to do this again. The last I drafted something based on, oops. It seems shorter here. Oh, there it is. Oh, it's filling in. Things are slow. Based on our discussion last time on this project on Washington Street. Let's see, this is the bottom one. Okay, that's it. I guess, again, this is one of those issues whether people want to, I guess, have to read it, whether you read it. I was just trying to, again, this is a project that will take a while and will still come before the ZBA for a comprehensive permit in which we get to weigh in at the ZBA process. We have a little less clout there, but then after the ZBA process, which is to look after our local reg issues, this project will come before us formally for a notice of intent under the state act and regulations. So we will much more formally get to have input on this, and this is just at the beginning stage. I made it as after our discussion, it's a little bit of a grab bag of issues that could be raised at the initial. This is not going to mass housing because it's a rental project. I mean, that's going to a different state entity, I believe, for affordable housing. So their concerns are not so many as to what we have. So many of these issues aren't really pertinent for that there, but I just wanted to just raise, as I wrote in here, these comments apply to the overall process of the town review. The town can decide which ones of these comments they want to pull for their first comment letter to the state agency. So it's a little bit more of a grab bag of items. So the question is whether this covers our previous discussion. We could revisit this in a few weeks because they probably will have an extension, or whether we can just, this would be sufficient. And we could just submit our final comments as this. Whether we have a lot of comments, we can submit this as a preliminary one and then finalize it later if people want to work on this more.
Michael, I took a look at this ahead of time, and I thought this was very well written. I thought it did basically cover everything we talked about last time. I didn't really have any edits or comments or anything to add, and I thought it struck a good balance between one, our desire to sort of raise some issues or flag some issues, but also understanding that the issues here with this project aren't, there's going to be another project next door, or adjacent to it, which we already know is going to have some significant issues. So
This is the significant one
this is the one with the
apartment building.
oh okay. So
I guess
did
we
we
read
al-
it. We
did
already submitted a shorter letter on the other one.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
as that, you see, it's the Washington Street one. So I don't know now whether you have a whole other slate.
No, no. I missed that one. I guess. Well, yeah. I guess I was reading it, thinking we were talking. I didn't pull up the map when I read it. So I didn't.
I can pull up the map again on the other side if people want.
No, that's okay. I mean, now that I understand that.
You can read it again. You can take a little time to reread it again here, or whether so that you can see whether all your wonderful comments might have a different slant.
No, I mean, I'm reading it now. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. The vernal pool. There we go. Well, anyways, I still thought it was good, and I did think it covered what we had talked about. So I didn't have anything to add.
Okay. Others?
I was on the fence as to whether or not this was relevant. So, this is obviously focused very heavily on wetlands, but I know you're listing in the beginning some of the things from the act, and you kind of lumped protection of water supplies as a single thing, though that's listed in the act as public and private water supplies and groundwater. I don't know if it would be of benefit to spell those both out to kind of tie it into larger water issues besides just the wetlands. I couldn't think of anywhere else to put that, and I'm sure the Board of Health is going to elaborate more, but it is also within our purview.
Would that
Or
change
water.
any of the specific concerns if they're focused on groundwater rather than just the public and private water supplies?
I mean, I can put the changes in. I mean, I don't mind adding that to the.
Those are just directly from the Wetlands Protection Act, the 8 interests of the act. So I thought,
I know I was trying to summarize, but I can go either way.
Yeah.
Guess I should be making these more.
You're gonna shout it. Groundwater.
No, I was just making clear my
He's
changes.
really mad, Courtney.
Oh, me and groundwater, I just love it. Overburden groundwater, bedrock groundwater.
The only thing you like better than groundwater is energy efficiency.
Yeah, I do like that more. And I just drink groundwater all day long.
Right.
Yeah, it's a tricky issue as I trying to do some further about the relationship between bedrock wells and the overburden groundwater, the term for the groundwater that forms wetlands, sometimes just referred to as overburden. And then there's some sort of impervious or other kind of layers before you get down to the bedrock area where all of our wells come from. And so the relationship between the two is complicated by where there's various fractures here or there. And to the extent that, and even drawing down the bedrock wells, it's unclear what the impact is on the hydrology of a wetland. In the past, we've just tried to have that monitored, since it's not clear what if there is a particular adverse impact between wetland hydrology and substantial draws of bedrock wells. But it's something just to monitor. I learned about a case today where they did do monitoring of that in Ipswich over many years, and they did not find any adverse impacts from a very large drawdowns in bedrock wells. But it's something to just monitor because it's probably just subject to the idiosyncrasies of a site where fractures are that go from the top to the bottom that are vertical. Okay, do we want to add anything to the concerns or anything at this time?
I just thought of one, and I wonder if you had considered about kind of like the habitat connectivity, because I'm just looking up on Mass Mapper, but you know, the biggest area of, I forget what the term is for like area of environmental concern, is the wetlands that Dirty Meadow kind of drains into, and then it goes along by Ash Lane and Woodland. And I suspect that it's connected, this wetland connects up to it. So there could actually be impacts on water quality further down current. Do you know do any of you remember seeing those estimated habitat maps for that area?
Yeah, but is that an issue of, you started with connectivity, you're talking about water quality connectivity?
Well, actually, I kind of am, although I think there are, yes. So there's two connectivity issues. I guess one is that this is kind of part, and you did reference it a little bit, that it's part of this broader wetland system across the street, and then also in other, you know, probably, I guess, on the other side of Greenwood. But then I also think we should look at whether there are water connectivity issues.
Well, there is clearly water connectivity issues. They're definitely there, but it's a water quality issue on wetlands. I think I just captured that broadly in this one here.
But the point I'm making is that there's, I think downstream, there's this area of that I've seen on Mass Mapper that's parts of Dirty Meadow actually have special status, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, okay. You're saying this. Okay, that might be different. Otherwise, I'm saying wetlands are wetlands, but okay.
Right.
The water quality.
Yeah, I'm trying to look it up right now. I'm looking on Mass Mapper. Why don't you go on and continue to discuss, and I'll try to see if I.
We can add a phrase here that it's also impact on the vernal pool and
I'd like to make one comment on the vernal pool. You mentioned it.
Sure.
I don't know if that's one pool that's been designated as a vernal pool, but I would be skeptical if there's only one vernal pool there, that in terms of what it actually is in the pool. So I don't think we should limit ourselves to defining a.
Yeah, right. I try to differentiate. You're right. There is the certified one where they've identified that they're keeping it. Including, I guess I could just, I'll just call it vernal pools. Is that is a way of opening it up there. Since
Sounds
it's
good.
a downstream area of some sort of, you could see, Carol, if after we get through this weekend, if you find something between now and sometime later tomorrow, we can add in a sentence about whether that downstream area is of any special, whatever.
I found something, if I can share my screen, I don't know if I've never tried to share my screen,
yeah.
but to show you.
Question is, we have to come up with a term for it, whatever it is, of some estimated, whatever. To say
Okay.
that wetland is of any greater importance than some others. And if we can come up with a phrase, you can send it to me.
I will, and I'll come up with, I'll show you, I'll do the map too, because it looks like that there's a wetland area that stretches across Route 16 that is interconnected with a stream that does go into Dirty Meadow, and from Dirty Meadow, it goes back across 16 and has this big area that has an area of special concern or whatever it's called.
Okay, if it's a special concern, that it's linked to an area of special concern, we'll see.
Yeah. I'll send it to you, Michael. See.
Okay. Any other comments here that we?
When you phrase the including vernal pools that way, it sort of loses the notion that there is the one big vernal pool that's right in the middle of the proposed development.
Okay, I see what you mean.
I mean, I agree with the notion that there's probably
That's a
more
certified
compliance.
vernal pool. Is that certified, Joyce? Is that correct?
Not sure I know the definition of certified by whom. I'm not sure that step's
Certified
happened.
is a specific definition at the state level.
Right, but I don't know if that has happened versus.
I thought they keep talking about it. You're on mute, Joyce.
I'm not sure it's certified. It's marked as a potential vernal pool. Let me just check and see if it's.
Well, also Deshang we could look back at his report because that did include that he had found some vernal pool critters, but I don't know if that.
That doesn't mean it's certified though.
Right. No, I know it doesn't mean that, but there might be enough there that would be equivalent to certifying.
Right. The question is, what's the adjective to put in front of that particular vernal pool versus other potential ones? That's what I'm struggling. I just want to.
What about calling it an observed vernal pool? Because I think that's what Deshang was doing. He was observing it in the spring and noted in his submission what he found.
You could say the applicant found evidence of a vernal pool habitat.
Oh, well, trying to keep.
So it is certified. The main one that's in the center is certified.
Okay.
That simplifies it.
That's what I thought.
And then it identifies another potential vernal pool, but I believe they're not necessarily marked where they're supposed to be. The certified one looks like to be exactly where it is. The potential vernal pool is.
Okay, how about this? Certified vernal pool, other potential vernal pools, and this other area of special concern. Okay, we agree with this wordsmithing here. Anything else? Hearing none, I move that we submit this to the select board as our initial comments on the Washington Street Sherborn Homes affordable housing project.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, Michael, I, Courtney,
Aye.
Jacob,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Carol,
Aye.
Kurt.
Aye.
Okay. Now, we have no minutes yet, but we're gonna getting there. Moving on, I'm going to say that the last thing here is on the agenda, we have administrative approvals that were, for the record, are all outside of jurisdiction, which includes a project to be done on Brush Hill Road, 0 Brush Hill Road of soil testing, 44 Bear Hill Road for soil testing, 27 Harrington Ridge Road for a horse barn, 19 Dopping, Brook Road for a deck, 14 Coolidge Street for a porch, and 25 to 27 Main Street for a septic replacement. Are there any other administrative approvals that have come up since this?
Yes, there's one additional one that I sent out.
Well, you can put it on the next agenda if you don't think of it right now.
It's 22 Farm Road septic installation,
Okay, to Farm Road,
22,
and that's outside of jurisdiction, right?
correct.
Okay, fine. So we have one more to add when we do the minutes. Okay, I think we've had a longer than usual night, but not so atypical, even by history, and I see some yawns. Okay, is there anything else, Joyce, that you have, that a site issue or anything?
No,
Okay. Announcements? No. How's that for an answer? And so in that case, I move to adjourn at 10:27.
Second.
Finally, boy, you guys are slow to the draw here.
I was letting somebody else take a turn.
I know, I'm sitting there going like, I guess, I don't know, they figure as co-chair, you really get a major role here. The discussion, I'll just say, everybody have very happy holidays. And then I will do a roll call vote. Michael, I. Courtney,
Aye.
Jacob,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Carol,
Aye.
Kurt.
Aye.
Okay. We got through it. We had a tricky project today. That Prospect Street is unusual. But we got through things there, and we'll might put on the agenda to discuss that process so that we can maybe think about how we deal with projects like that in the future. Okay, everybody. See you in a few weeks or so.
Happy holidays, everybody.
When is the next meeting?
The first and third Thursdays. Let's see.
January 3rd.
5th. All right. So you've got time to recover from your New Year's Eve festivities.
January 5th.
Yeah, January 5th.
Yeah, I'm sorry, January 5th, sorry.
And I'll say here to Steve there, he has a nice big red barn. And he has such a nice little Christmas tree planted inside that's lit up. There's something very touching about the little cozy tree inside a big open barn door that I like at his house. So, okie dokie, everybody. Thanks.